Jason Anderson on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Scale of 1 to 10, immediate number locked in. Beers, do you have a number?
I'd say so.
Should we say it at the same time? How do
Say
you
it at
do
the
this?
1, 2, 3, go.
4.
I put 0.
Oh, interesting.
Really?
I
said, honestly, it feels like almost 0.
I'm shocked that I'm the highest of the group.
Yeah, well.
You're in the zone on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
All right, a Monday edition of The Zone right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Jason Anderson with you, Josh Briscoe, and Drake. We head up until 2 o'clock. We've got you for the next 4 hours. A lot of stuff to get into and talk about today. You can be a part of it, 913-912-4810. The text line to join us to hang out here over the next 4 hours, 913-912-4810. The text line. We will talk with Craig Brown coming up at noon. Into the Fountains, intothefountains.substack.com is where you can go and follow all of his fine work and writings and musings and breakdowns of what's going on with this Royals season, which has been mostly a breakdown. So we will talk with Craig Brown coming up at noon. Mick Schaefer will have an early Mick Schaefer. Same time, but yep, we get a little bit earlier than typical. Mick Schaefer joins us at 12:30 today because we will hear from Andy Reid and Will C. We're expecting it to ultimately just be Andy Reid, but we'll find out around 1:30 or so. We'll hear from the head coach of the Kansas City Chiefs as rookie minicamp wrapping up for the Chiefs, and then Phase 2, OTAs, all of that stuff as the summer progresses, and different dates on the calendar, and Thursday night when the schedule is released, and we'll see who the Chiefs will play on that opening night Thursday. Will it be the Eagles? Will it be the Bengals? Could be the Bills, but I think those are the top billing, 1 and no pun intended with the Bills, but 1 and 2. Either way you want to slice it, Eagles or Bengals. I don't know how often the NFL has a chance to have a Super Bowl rematch to start off the next season. They do have that opportunity to have a Super Bowl rematch with Chiefs and Eagles that Thursday night. And just, probably the main thing Thursday night that I'm looking forward to see who that opponent's going to be, because this is really the first time the Chiefs and Chiefs fans since 1970 that they've opened up a season as the reigning champions with a full Arrowhead Stadium. Jam-packed, because 2020 was not your typical. Remember, they raised the banner in a special ring ceremony because they knew it wasn't going to be a packed house. It was 15,000 on that Thursday, so it wasn't going to be a typical, here are your Super Bowl champions, and here's a full celebration. And I just remember that year, that summer, so many season ticket holders were like, I've been a season ticket holder for this long, and this is what you sort of invest in. Mm-hmm. And now only 15,000 can enjoy that party that night on that Thursday night to open up the season, and it sucked. It wasn't fun. It was, it was actually the culmination of Clyde Edwards-Helaire's career. And 125 yards and 2 touchdowns that night. It was amazing. But that's the main thing. That's Thursday night, but it's just NFL never sleeps. But that's the main thing I'm sort of waiting to see is who that Thursday night matchup is going to be against.
Have you seen the new drama around the NFL schedule?
No.
There is now reporting that the schedule might not be ready by Thursday.
What?
That the schedule makers committee is meeting with Roger Goodell, I believe today, and that right now there is concern, there is tension that maybe the NFL schedule will not be ready in time for its completely convoluted and created schedule release day.
The schedule release committee, I thought that was a computer.
Real people did it because there were some fascinating clips from it last year that I vaguely remember.
Well, now I'm just picturing this room that is just dark with like a couple of old interrogation lamps that are there, and smoke fills the room, and people just have scratch pieces of paper, and there's a big board up there, a dry erase board, maybe some magnets, and they're trying to figure it out. And there's Matt Damon is there from Good Will Hunting, and he's doing all of the math and everything.
We only have the Texans playing 14 games. Hold on. Actually, say that again. We only have the Texans playing 14 games. Send it.
Yes, that's right. If I told you about playing football, I bet you would tell me about you watching it on TV. But you've never been out there on the field. You never put on a helmet or pads and went into battle with your brothers. You've never done that. If I ask you to give me a sonnet, you probably... It's the pond scene.
I was about to start just spinning it off into A Few Good Men because that's all right. I've got.
The pond scene apparently was filled with lots of fans. and looky-loos. They had roped everything off, but in the background there were a lot of people that just stood there and watched.
Really?
So apparently, as the story goes, it was very distracting for Robin Williams and Matt Damon in doing that scene because there were so many just general people in that park that just showed up to watch.
I think
The
that's
filming of
at that point it's like live theater and film coming together. I think
Right.
there's something to that.
I would definitely have shown up to watch them perform that scene.
Now that
was a
has nothing
really
on
good
the
scene.
real drama of the day. CBSSports.com headline: NFL schedule release 2023: date of unveiling could be delayed with
What?
schedule not yet finalized
Oh.
per report.
No, just put it in a computer system. It'll be fine.
NFL.
Put it in the software. You know what? All they have to do is release that Thursday night game for me, and that's it.
That's fine.
It's the only
Give us
one.
week one.
I'm good. I'm
Oh
good.
God,
Week
do
one.
it. Oh no, I said this out loud, and the
Yep,
NFL's
they're gonna
already
do it
heard
week
it.
by week. On Thursday the 11th, they're going to give us week 1. The 17th, they're going to give us week 2.
They might
You're right.
go. They
You're
might
right.
try to take the draft formula, and maybe we can at least. All right, so next year in let's not even go with an NFL city. Let's just say Lincoln, Nebraska. They're gonna host the 3-day NFL schedule release party. They're gonna just take over the entire state of Nebraska. 3 days, boom, you're welcome.
I was going to say they'll do it like draft to where each night, like the first pick of the draft, the Texans, they release the Texans schedule. Second pick of the draft, the next night, they release. Oh, I guess it would be the Panthers, then the
Or the
Texans,
Bears, by
and then the
schedule. It's
Texans
all
again.
fine.
Weird.
Yeah. Ooh, the Texans
like, well,
traded
let's
up
just
to
go
get
through.
their
This
next.
is weird.
We've got the Texans 2025 schedule
That's
now.
what I was going to say.
What?
This is weird.
Can you do that?
And I was thinking about that, and I guess as you get to the end of the draft, the schedules already been figured out. Like the Chiefs, if they're the last one, the Chiefs schedule would already be done because we would know the 31 other teams in the NFL schedule, so we would know exactly when the Chiefs played. No reason to do the unveiling of the Chiefs schedule on that 32nd day.
We wouldn't know until round 29 though, because the Eagles are going to be in there somewhere, and I'm trying to the Eagles and Bengals and Bills and all of that.
Exactly.
They're all going to end up playing each other anyway, right? Yep. So I'm afraid that the NFL is going to put a beer sponsor on this, and we're gonna have a week-long celebration of announcing not the teams they'll play. We already know all of those.
That's right. Home
That
and
is
away.
decided by a computer. The schedule, though, tension.
I just want to know which week the Chiefs will play the Jets as to who the backup quarterback is going to be that day.
Yeah.
Whichever week it is, I am concerned for Mahomes or Rodgers, whichever one, because the football gods will not allow Mahomes and Rodgers to suit up on the same field together.
It's going to really hurt to watch Blaine Gabbert and Zach Wilson, but if I'm being honest, I like the Chiefs' chances.
You mean Mahomes versus Wilson?
That would be fine.
Yes.
That would be fine. I think Mahomes at that point just takes a day off. He just takes a week off, just a rest.
What if that is it? What if it does end up being both backups? It's like one backup for one team, one backup for the other team, and now both backups in there.
Right now, I would sign a pact that says, hey, if either quarterback is unavailable for this game, the other team also has to bench their starter. Because I think I would take Blaine Gabbert over Zach Wilson right now, which is a tough thing to say out loud.
Yes. All right, 913-912-4810. Mick Schaefer joins us at about 12:30. But we'll hear from Andy Reid coming up later on today with minicamp OTAs, all of that stuff continuing. And we'll hear from some of the players' draft picks at rookie minicamp, being Felix and Udike Uzama, Rashee Rice, Keandre Coburn, B.J. Thompson. All of the draft picks talked Saturday and Sunday. So we'll play a few of those clips throughout the show. 913-912-4810. Let's start here. Let's start with Saturday. And that is what took place Saturday evening out at Kauffman Stadium. To me, I know that Sporting won. And there was a fun race and a fight that took place after. And so there's a lot of cool stuff there. The Royals did win yesterday. So, yeah, there are other maybe quote-unquote highlights of the weekend. My son winning the Derby with Mage, me ignoring every possible betting angle, including Mage, just
good.
eliminating him from anything I had just because my son, what does he know about horse racing? Idiot. That all those things. My wife won the drawing in the pool with her family, so
Really?
$5 pot with 18 people. So she would, because there's 18 horses, could have been 20.
So between your wife and son, your family broke
19,
even
I
on the
guess.
day.
Yeah, 19 horses, whatever. So yeah, it was. That's right. They broke even.
Yeah.
On the so it wasn't that. It was the fact that after that was over, flip over and catch. I had to start it on DVR because all of the post race stuff. So started on DVR, and because I didn't want to miss a second of the Lorenzo Cain ceremony. So had the pregame recorded and game recorded to see Lorenzo Cain come out there, Salvi to bring the Lorenzo Cain and give him, which it felt like he needed often in his career, to walk back to center field or sort of like old man creak back with looks like his bones are talking to him while he's walking back to center field. It was great. It was an enjoyable ceremony, and it was nostalgic, and it brought a tear to your eye with how emotional he got with the whole thing. And at the same time, we are talking about 2016, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 8 years after winning the World Series, and the Chiefs are in the Royals are in a let's figure out what we have season. Not even a, hey, we think we're close to competing. We're in a reset. Let's just go back to the baseline and see what we even have to start and not even start, but to continue and maybe organize our quote-unquote rebuild while Lorenzo Cain is retiring, and it's still in that spin cycle for this Royals organization. So that was sort of the backdrop of what was a great night and ceremony of just memories, and seeing him wearing the Royals Lorenzo Cain jersey was awesome. The relay from center field with his three boys to then throwing the first pitch to Salvi, that was great. Ned Yost and everybody, Alex Gordon in attendance and things like that. It was a really cool ceremony that took place. And look, it's a little way back. It's one of those way back radio oftentimes where it's like, oh, remember this, remember that. But right now that's all we have to go off of with the Royals, which is unfortunate because they did lose the series to the A's. So transitive property tells me that if you lose to the worst team in baseball, you then take over that crown. So the Royals being the worst team in baseball right now. But at least in that moment, for about 20, 25 minutes, I didn't really give a bleep about what was going on with this current Royals. It was just about reliving my favorite Royal of that time in that group, Lorenzo Cain. It was awesome. It was fun.
There's something that, and this is real deep in the mythology of sports and kind of what we allow ourselves to believe about our athletes and the teams they representing the city and all of the emotions that tie into it. So, forgive the exaggeration, but so often athletes, specifically the ones who are the most excellent, who do win the ultimate prize, they get that total superhero treatment. And usually you can only watch them from, great distance away, depending on if you're behind the net behind home plate or in the upper deck. You're still watching from far away enough to be able to kind of forget that they're human beings. And I don't mean that judgingly, but like you watch Patrick Mahomes in full armor and a helmet and doing totally insane things on a football field, you can kind of buy into that idea that they're not less than human, but more. And so you kind of create that mythology. And then to see a guy come back to the field that he earned so many fans on, had so many incredible moments on, and then was a part of this era of baseball that feels like it should be played back in black and white at this point, despite the fact that it wasn't even 10 years ago. But to see him come back and be completely overwhelmed by emotion that way, to me, is one of those reminders that these people who we shower in praise for what they can do, you come back at the end of your career and soak up a moment like that and just, cannot hold it together. The humanity comes soaking back into me at that moment, and you can really feel that connection of all the people that have filled out the stadium to watch him play, the people who filled out the stadium to watch him officially retire. The Salvi and the Cain, the CANE moment, is the joking and the Salvi splash smiling energy that it's been a while since we've seen on the field at Kauffman. And again, just to see Lorenzo Cain completely overwhelmed that way was really striking and really, really cool.
Yeah, I'm trying to look through right now because I was going to ask you if you heard and know why he decided or when he decided he was going to retire a Royal. that story behind it, and I'm trying to find the game.
In the meantime, would you like a little bit of Royals transactional news?
Yes, please.
The Royals have just acquired right-handed pitcher James MacArthur from the Philadelphia Phillies in exchange for minor league outfielder Junior Marin, and cash considerations. To make room on the 40-man roster, Franmil Reyes has been DFA'd.
What?
So
That's too bad.
there you go.
That's too bad. Franmil is well, there was
I
so much
enjoyed our
hope.
brief moments together.
There was so much hope. There was excitement. We talked about it. I
bought stock.
It's like I don't want to get excited about Fran. Don't get excited about Franmil Reyes. Don't get excited about Franmil Reyes. You got excited about Franmil Reyes, didn't you?
I did.
I did. I definitely did. Doctor said I was in too good a shape. I was too healthy. You didn't go to the doctor, did you? No, I did not. But I'm trying to find the game, which, he returned to Kansas City after, he went back to Milwaukee. And here it is. So it's it's in 2018, in April of 2018, the first year he was with Milwaukee after the Royals. So first year, not wearing a Royals uniform after winning a World Series. He had a home run. And he said in his press conference, rounding the bases and getting the ovation from the fans, he knew at that moment his career wasn't over and there was a number of years left, but he was going to retire a Kansas City Royal.
So cool.
At that moment, rounding the bases in Kauffman Stadium, just a couple of years removed from winning a World Series, 1 year more than that removed from winning ALCS MVP against the O's, and he says, you know what? The fans here gave me an ovation as an opposing player when I hit a home run. I'm going to retire a Royal. Let's hear a clip from Lorenzo Cain in that it's a little bit longer. It's when he got emotional around his mom, and then ultimately ending with a perfect way for Lorenzo Cain to end his retirement speech.
Oh, man. I love you, Mom. That's all I can say today. Oh, man. My beautiful wife, thank you for all the great things, just for being there for me throughout this entire journey. I love you, and I really appreciate you more than you know. All right? Oh, man. Woo. Man. This journey, wasn't done alone. It took so many special people in my life. So many people that deserve to be standing next to me today. To all my coaches from high school all the way up into the big leagues. Trainers, strength trainers, teammates, family, friends. I really appreciate everything you guys did for me throughout my career. Without you, I'm definitely not standing here today. Wow. Man, I didn't think it was going to be this hard. Woo. To all the fans out here, I really appreciate you guys showing up. All I've ever tried to do in life is just be a positive impact on somebody's life. And sometimes that's just simply by doing that with a smile. And I try to do that throughout my entire career. And with everybody showing up here today, I know I completed my task. All right? So I appreciate every single one of you. I love you guys. Keep being the special fans that you are. And I'm so proud to know that I'll always be forever Royal.
Great way to end it by Lorenzo Cain. Always be forever Royal, and he certainly will be that. An absolute fan favorite. And not just because playing with a smile, but, man, the way that he played. I found myself going back and just watching instead of the Royals game on Saturday. That might have been in the background, but just watching highlights of the Angels and Orioles series when so much of those 7 games was about the defense that was played by the Royals. And Blair brought it up last night on Sunday Sound Off because we were saying, what's your lasting memory of Lorenzo Cain? What do you think of when Lorenzo Cain comes to mind? And Blair said, it was that Orioles game where, and when he said it, I remembered it. But if you would have just said, hey, first batter of the game for the Orioles, I'm like, I don't know. But he's like, when the Royals broke out the gloves and you knew, or Angels, I should say, Cole Calhoun leads off the bottom of the first with the Angels in the ALDS, first game of the postseason for them. The Royals had just won the wild card game, and Calhoun hits one to right center. And not only does Lorenzo Cain catch it, he gets to the wall and has to leap fully extension with his glove in the air against the wall. That would have been at least, if he doesn't catch it, it's a double. Calhoun's busting out of the box, so maybe a triple to start off the game for the Angels. I don't know what happens after that. Like, do things snowball the rest of the way? I have no idea. But I know that catch, got things rolling for the Royals in what he did in center field. And then just watching the highlights of that series of all of the plays he made in center field, diving to his left, diving to his right, coming in and diving forward to make the catches, just the defense that was played. It was, you can remember the lean back and the swing, right? And you can remember scoring first to, scoring on a single from first against the Blue Jays. But I don't know that I remember him taking a false step on a fly ball.
Yeah.
Like, those highlights are amazing because as soon as the ball is hit, when they show the full view, as soon as the ball is hit, he's already taking steps to exactly where the ball is going to land. I mean, it was so much fun watching him play center field. And it, as a negative backdrop, it just sucks that we're so far away from maybe watching a team have that much fun again.
I've got a negative slant we can view it through if you want to keep talking about it. I'll let us all take a timeout. But to answer sort of that question from Sound Off and to connect the lean back and you talking about him in center field, Lorenzo Cain just made everything about an incredibly difficult game look easy.
Yeah, he did.
An easy swing. One of the smoothest strokes in baseball. And you would underrate him if by accident defensively if all you watched was how stressed he ever looked at any given moment, because he never was, because there were no missteps. There was never, I don't know if I can get there. He just was there, and that I think is how I will remember him as one of the smoothest players in baseball.
Watching him play center field next to Nori Aoki in right field is just an amazing juxtaposition of how to get to the same result.
Yes, those two will bring me joy forever.
They both caught the ball.
They did.
It's just how they got there to catch the ball.
Efficiency was the differentiating factor.
Different. Lorenzo Cain would take a direct flight.
Yes.
And Aoki would head to Charlotte to end up in Dallas.
And he was a layover, too. Like, he'd spend 6 hours in Charlotte.
But he made the catches.
But he got there. Yeah.
He made the catches. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. We'll continue rolling more Zone next.
You're in the zone with Jason Anderson on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
We'll move on to some other things as the Chiefs have their mini camp going on. Rookies. Tex says, too bad Kane didn't get the Salvi splash. He probably, wanted to stay dry for the game.
They would have won, and then they get him on the field afterward.
Would have been
But
great.
Hey, shocking. The Royals let you down.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. That's too bad. 913-912-4810. Text, as we were joking about the schedule release, text says it'll be week 17, and the Chiefs will have the division wrapped up. Well, week 18, game 17. Chiefs will have the division locked up. Mahomes won't play against the Jets. And we're saying, when are they going to play the Jets?
That's good. I love that.
What week are they going to play the Jets to where one of Aaron Rodgers or Patrick Mahomes will not play in that game because the football gods would not allow them to be on the field at the same time? It's a great point. Week 18, Chiefs will have everything wrapped up. The number 1 seed won't need to play. Patrick Mahomes will take the day off, and Aaron Rodgers will play against Blaine Gabbert. That's a perfect scenario.
Fine with me.
Yep, absolutely. 913-912-4810. I said last night on Sunday Sound Off that my lasting memory is not only just a smile all the time, and that's what he talked about there in that clip of wanted to make a difference in people and young people's lives, and something as simple as just going about it with a smile on your face, and that's why he became such a fan favorite. Like, my lasting image when I think of Lorenzo Cain, it's not even the catches, it's post-catch of getting up, flinging the ball back sort of almost underhand back to the infield, sort of an awkward throw back to the infield, walking back to center field like he has arthritis in every joint in his body, and sort of slowly Willie Roafing his way back to the huddle.
I was going to say there's a Willie Roaf aspect.
To center field, hat off kilter, just sort of trying to get back into position, looking like his whole body hurts. His legs hurt, his feet hurt, his hips hurt, his shoulders hurt, and then doing it again. The very next play. That'll be my lasting image. The individual plays are amazing. First, scoring from first, and the bases clearing double in Game 5 against the Mets in extra innings, and all the catches and everything. But just when I think of Lorenzo Cain, that's what I will always think of, is just how painful it looked for him to walk back to center field after making a play.
The Willy Wonka, Gene Wilder sort of walk of it. Now he has the cane 4 and everything.
That's perfect.
That's
yes.
just it's kind of hobble out there and then do a somersault and catch a deep fly ball and ruin it for somebody else. It's amazing.
No, it's perfect. Did you see the attendance over the weekend against the A's?
I did. This is exactly what I was thinking at the end of the last segment.
Was this the negative?
In a manner of speaking, yeah. You got the numbers?
I do have the numbers. Friday night, the Royals had 15,966. Sunday, they had 12,740. And Saturday, they had 29,549. Friday and Saturday roughly equaled 1,000 fewer fans than they had on Saturday alone. And I guess that's the negative spin, is the Royals packed the house on a beautiful Saturday, high of 90, clear skies, a little bit of wind. At that point, it started to cool off a little, around, 6 o'clock or so. We probably got there at 5 o'clock to make sure you were there for the Lorenzo Cain celebration. But a beautiful weekend all around, and you show up for that, but you're showing up for Lorenzo Cain. You're not showing up for another, game against the A's on Sunday or Friday. It's a perfect idea to make it against the A's. To get almost 30,000 that night. That is sort of the negative spin, is like that's what brings you out to the ballpark now.
Yeah.
Is having those celebrations of Lorenzo Cain and maybe eventually Hosmer and Moustakas and those guys that were a part of that core for the Royals.
And there's also a positive way of even looking at the negative in it, but it is sort of sad that Kauffman doubled its attendance on the games on either side. Not even for I was gonna say it's a reunion tour or one last tour. You go, I've never seen the Rolling Stones. But you didn't see Mick Jagger play songs. You just saw him stand there and talk about what it was like to be playing shows
while a cover band comes out and actually plays.
100%. Yes, that is perfect. Is that, then you get the Rolling Joes come out after that, and they play a few of their favorite Stones songs.
The Rolling Rocks.
That's it, right. And like that, Rolling Rocks would have been more exciting. Like that's a little bit disappointing.
Yeah.
And I don't want to over highlight the comments that we talked about from Bobby Witt Jr. a couple of weeks ago about just that sort of that feeling of us versus everybody, because we still don't. I don't really think he was talking about Royals fans being against them necessarily. There's just, when you're at the bottom of the league, you're gonna have that kind of mentality. And I don't think that John Sherman is currently getting like buyer's remorse on the Royals. But I do hope, with them as just sort of loose touchstones, I do hope this is a reminder, especially for John Sherman, that the issue isn't that people don't care about the Royals or don't want to go see Royals games or don't want to go out to Kauffman or wouldn't want to be in a downtown stadium whenever that comes around. The issue is that people have not had a chance to have a reason to become invested in this version of the Royals. And that's even with some young players that we've been excited about for years now. The hook of Bobby Witt Jr. and Vinny Pasquantino and MJ Melendez and what those guys should be for the current round of fans should be incredible. But also, the fans who are out there to see Lorenzo Cain, they watched Lorenzo Cain on television or on wherever they were getting their games. And that's not all just the Royals' fault, because streaming has changed and the way we consume sports on television has changed. But everybody in Kansas City has got a Lorenzo Cain memory or story or love for that team. And they did go out to Kauffman just to see him stand on the field in a jersey and pants.
Yep.
Those people are here. That love for this team is very deeply ingrained in Kansas City. A couple of bad seasons aren't enough to scare people away. But the sort of lackadaisical, fair weather would be the wrong word to use, so I say it only because I can't think of a better one right now. But the looking over at the standings or looking over at the roster, the lineup before you decide if you want to go out to Kauffman for a weekend game, that is what is dampening excitement, not, baseball not being something Kansas City loves. This was a baseball town before it was a football town in so many ways. That's still there, but having something to celebrate is a hell of a lot more fun than having something to commiserate over. And that was just sort of brought back to the forefront for me over the weekend.
Yeah, I mean, and maybe here's the positive to it. Maybe those players, if they felt like, well, everybody's against us, or that's our mentality with the mask or the helmet that we're putting on is, everybody's against us, whatever. Maybe that game on Saturday, even though it didn't translate to them going out and winning, maybe that game on Saturday is the first real, actual, tangible evidence of no, the fan base loves the players.
Yeah.
They long for success, and they long for the excitement and the days when it was fun to go out to Kauffman. And that's why they're there, is to remember that, and they're cheering Lorenzo, and they pack the stands, and people have tears coming down their face when he's sitting there talking. That's available to you. Like, that's real. And if you are to be a part of that, you have that same thing in your future.
Right. If
you can do some of the things that Royals team was able to do. And I don't know, is that the first time that the Royals fans have packed the house to show like the younger players? Because, I mean, these guys have been up since last year.
Sure.
That's really it. So was there something last year that I'm not remembering that took place, that they had a big ceremony, that the place had 30,000 fans, whereas the day before had 15 and the day after had 12 against a sorry team in the A's, when that team was, the team that was out there wearing the royal blue was, almost 15 games under 500. Like, is it, or more? What is their record now? 17 games under 500.
Yeah, they sure are.
I don't remember if there was anything like that last year, but at least for that night, there was tangible evidence of, hey, no, the fans are there. They're just waiting to come out from their dormant winter of a few years to then enjoy the beautiful weather.
It's definitely new for this coaching staff. I mean, this is a new crew, and I don't think any of them were waiting for applause to try to do their jobs well, obviously, right? Like, the effort has been there, but just to have one of those, to have the opportunity for that moment, I think is a positive thing, even if it's a little bit sad that it reminds you that's the way to turn out right now, is to go on a nostalgia tour as opposed to enjoying the actual baseball being played.
We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. We'll continue rolling. Owners and MVPs, they fight, they shove, they steal balls in a series that hasn't even started yet, which is weird.
It's crazy.
More next.
Want to see more of The Zone? Watch the show live on the Sports Radio 810 WHB Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Twitch.
Have you checked out Greenlight Dispensary yet? If not, are you even listening? Get over to the Missouri side and enjoy one of Greenlight's 4 KC area locations, including their newest one on 135th and State Line, the other 3 on Bannister, in Independence, and Harrisonville. Greenlight Dispensary has been voted Missouri's best dispensary numerous times by the people of Missouri, and they're where I go. They're my favorite dispensary in the great state. They've always got a great inventory and a huge variety of products at every Greenlight. But the real selling point for me, the thing from early on that had Greenlight keep me around, was the care, the quality, and the knowledge of their bud tenders. If you're showing up not even knowing what kind of questions to ask, there are no stupid questions at Greenlight. Ask whatever you need, even if it's super vague, super open-ended, and you're just wondering, hey, what's right for me? Ask the bud tenders at Greenlight Dispensary. Then when you know what you want, you can order online for pickup via drive-thru or the grab-and-go windows, which is super easy, super convenient, all from greenlightdispensary.com. Or again, go inside and browse in person. Ask the bud tenders what's right for you. They've got extended hours on the weekend, and you can check it all out at greenlightdispensary.com.
Hey golf fans, it's that time of season, and to get you ready, Great Life Golf Kansas City.
Little shuffling around here in the zone today. Jason had the dip. So me and Drake with you the remainder of the way. The good news is I will certainly keep up Jason's tease from last segment, because if it was up to me, I mean, all 4 hours of this show today would be devoted to talking about what happened last night in the NBA. I'll explain my context before we dive fully in. But Joshua Briscoe and Drake as Jason Anderson. Usually the voice you hear on this side. We shuffled around a little bit. I moved over here into the big chair. This is what you got Blaine Gabbert for. You know, it's not just the hair.
Tell you what, it was pretty scary last week on Thursday when I was filling in on Petro's show and they were on remote and Shane was in the big chair. I was very uncomfortable.
I saw that. I think that must have been Thursday. I was working around here, when Chumps was up and rolling, and seeing Shane in here really brought great joy to my heart. For reasons I didn't fully understand at the time, and certainly don't feel now, because that filthy Nuggets fan was in here talking to me during the break, and I can't believe he had the gall after what his superstar tried to do to my precious Matt Ishbia last night. If you didn't see, this is what Jason was referring to last segment, is that late in, I don't know exactly when it was actually, late third quarter, I think maybe, of Suns-Nuggets last night. Suns win and bring the series to 2-2. Series hasn't started yet because neither team's lost at home, and everyone knows the series doesn't start till the home team loses. But last night, the ball bounces over into the corner there in those sort of front row stands, and one of the fans in those open seats is holding the basketball under his arm, is one of the Suns players is kind of falling into the chairs, and this isn't going to be important for the context of how I tell the story. I'm unbiased, but I'm a Suns fan. And so precious Prince Charming Matt Ishbia is just holding the basketball under his arm, a very normal thing to do in that circumstance. And Nikola Jokic comes over, guns blazing, just ready. Frankly, I'm just glad he didn't hurt him. Jokic comes over, all 14 feet and 500 pounds of him, throws a vicious elbow, narrowly misses beheading Matt Ishbia. Thankfully, just catches him in the chest, and Ishbia necessarily and daintily sits down into his seat, holding his hands up as to show the referees, hey, I haven't done anything here. Jokic comes over like a rabid polar bear, rips the basketball out of Ishbia's hands, shoves him down. Now, personally, having nothing to do with the fact that I am indeed a Phoenix Suns fan, I would personally start at lifetime ban for Jokic and then move backwards if necessary. You know, the NFL players that are gambling on games, they're getting these apply for reinstatement later type of suspensions. The undetermined period of time. It's like at least a year, and then we'll see. I think that's the only fair thing to do with Jokic, having nothing to do with the fact that he is the only one currently reasonably standing in the way of my team returning to the Western Conference Finals. Ishbia did nothing wrong, and Jokic should probably be arrested.
I see the shocking part of the story to me was that the NBA owner is quite a bit younger than me. And that hurt.
The shocking part to me was Landry Shamet. Pooh! Shocker legend. Yeah, Ishbia is the one who just bought the team from Lizard wearing a human suit, Robert Sarver. And so that's been great already. It was literally like his first day at the office that the Suns traded for Kevin Durant. It was like the day that Ishbia had his introductory press conference. It was like hours later. It put Brett Veach to shame. And he'll have the press conference say, we love Eric Fisher and Mitchell Schwartz. And then an hour later, they cut them both. The Suns have even pushed on that barrier. Here's my quote unquote actual take on Jokic v. Ishbia. I really thought that what the Suns owner did over there was actually, I'm not taking off my Suns shirt because we are on Twitch and no one needs to see all that right now. But taking off my metaphorical Suns hat, I think that if you are on the sideline, the ball bounces up to you, one of the players comes by, and in this case, the relationship matters a little bit because this isn't a random fan like, the Suns player has never seen before. I don't think Jokic would have noticed him out of anybody, but ball bounces over, you grab that, you're kind of looking over at the player that just fell into the stands. Ishbia shouldn't have tried to take the ball home with him, but the first person to come for the ball wasn't a ref, it was Jokic. Jokic could have just left that alone, but it's fine. I don't think he should be suspended, outside of him being arrested. That should hopefully get the job done for the rest of the series. He shouldn't be suspended for it. But also, I didn't think Ishbia did anything wrong, and I certainly don't think that having even a faint forearm shove from Jokic, if you're like standing, think about when you're standing kind of over a chair where you don't have room to step back. I'm now standing up to just go ahead and walk through all of this. When you're standing in front of a chair and get pushed back even a little bit, if you lose your balance, the safest thing to do, just fall back. And also in this case, you're holding your arms up so the refs know you're not like trying to take Jokic down with you. I do not think that Ishbia flopped in a way that is worthy of all of the Twitter diatribes. Nor do I think Jokic should be in any further suspension category. Ishbia has said that today in a tweet. He doesn't want to see anything else happen to Jokic. I thought giving him a tech for it there was totally reasonable. He came over to the action and initiated contact with a fan, who in this case is also a billionaire. But you can't meet the contact. That can't happen. And also, he didn't throw a punch or put him in a headlock. I think we ultimately got the result we all needed. Great jokes, a great talking point, and another Suns win. That's what we were all rooting for, right? I was talking to Shane in the break, like I mentioned, and have continued to stay in touch with, no longer with us, Rudy Salazar and Beards McFly. We also have our group chat, because we're actually friends. And last night we were texting, and Rudy and I were both just sort of congratulating the other person on his team certainly advancing, because there's no way our teams are any good anymore. And Beards had what I thought was the commentary of the night. He said, if I was just reading your own texts individually, I would think both of you had teams who were in the process of getting swept. And that's what Suns Nuggets has felt like to me, at least. It has felt like at any point, either of these teams could literally just implode on themselves. Maybe it's Jokic trying to fight a billionaire, maybe it's Chris Paul slowly falling apart, but either way, drama's been good.
Play Multiplier Mania every Thursday in May.
So the Zone's still rolling on here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Joshua Briscoe and the Drake with you. We'll do more baseball in the third hour, in the noon hour. We'll talk to Craig Brown from Into the Fountains before Mick Schaefer joins us from KSHB 41. But then we would hopefully planning on hearing from Andy Reid and maybe a couple of members of the Chiefs undrafted free agent class, perhaps. As rookie mini camps were starting over the weekend, continue through today. We'll hear some more clips of some of the rookies who did talk this weekend momentarily as well. So we're going to give you a bunch of Chiefs here. We'll do some baseball and then Chief it back up again for the remainder of the show. Currently, again, watching the highlights. I cannot believe Nikola Jokic left his feet, frankly. That was targeting Jokic to Ishbia. Absolute violence. No place in the game for that. Month-long suspension. Forget everything I said at the end of last segment. Year-long, lifelong. If not a suspension, at least an arrest. But I digress. I want to talk about a few, before we get to the rookies, I want to talk about a few elements of the veteran the Chiefs have added most recently. We talked about Donovan Smith quite a bit last week because it was a move that none of us really saw coming. In retrospect, it makes a lot of sense. I am not blown away by it, in shock now with a little more time to kind of digest it, but it will also be one of the first questions, and I think probably the most interesting answer that Andy Reid will give today when he speaks to the media after minicamps wrap up is, hey, what is the vision for Donovan Smith? Played left tackle his whole career in Tampa, played well in Tampa for the most part. Did not play well last year. Injuries, penalties, performance, attitude. Throw a dart, pick a spot. You will find something you could reasonably complain about with Donovan Smith's play last year. But I also think that this deal ends up making a lot of sense. You hear up to $9 million. We talked about Nate Taylor's report in The Athletic last week that it's more around $4 in base salary, but could get up to $9 if he hits a bunch of incentives, which is a whole other game of what's likely to be earned and what's not. For now, don't worry about it. Call it a $4 or $5 million deal, and maybe it gets to 6 or 7. Ultimately, it's a one-year deal for a starting left tackle from the last nearly, 8 years or something with the Buccaneers, but coming off of his worst season as a pro. And in a shocking turn of events that will certainly surprise people who listen to this show, I was listening to the Athletic Football Show, wonderful podcast, most often featuring Robert Mays and Nate Tice. And they were talking about some of the post-draft moves that had already been made and other places where teams could look to add some veterans or maybe even hop back onto the trade market to kind of flesh out what the future of their team might look like. And they spent quite a bit of time actually talking about Donovan Smith. I got 2 clips from the Athletic Football Show that I want to kind of go through because it's interesting to figure out how the Chiefs went from point A to point B. And then it's even more interesting, I think, to begin to project what Donovan Smith could look like with this team this year. But as sort of a calibration, we talked last week about how we thought this unfolded and why the Chiefs ended up here. Here are Robert Mays and Nate Tice in the Athletic Football Show talking about their logic behind the Donovan Smith signing and how they think the Chiefs arrived here.
So trying to figure out what that signing means, here's my guess, and I'm curious what you think about this. They signed Juwan Taylor, presumably to be their left tackle with the amount of money that they gave him. You go into the draft, you think we could probably use another starting tackle. We got Lucas Niang as our starting right tackle as things currently stand with Andrew Wiley moving on. The way the draft falls, you don't find a guy till the 3rd round, and it's more of a traits-based developmental player anyway. So you're sitting there like, if we put Juwan Taylor at left tackle, we got these 2 third-round picks at right tackle, and we're not sure about either of them. And we've learned a lesson over the last couple of years that as long as we have an offensive line, we're probably going to be the best offense in football because our quarterback is from another planet. Let's take a step back after the draft. You look at the available free agents and think, oh man, the guy we signed to be our left tackle was a right tackle. And that's what he's done for all of his career up to this point. And he was a really good right tackle last year. The best offensive tackle left on the market has been a left tackle for his entire career. And he was dinged up last year. It was not a good season. But maybe if we can get him for the right price, this is just the best way to provide ourselves an insurance policy for our offense to ensure that we're just going to be in a good spot no matter how things break. And I kind of think that's what it was.
I think it is too. I think it's, let's just keep 15 upright, Patrick Mahomes upright, and
only
go
$9
from there.
million. The guy's been a
from there.
16-game starter at left tackle several different times.
On a Super Bowl winning team.
He wasn't. Yeah, he was on the field. He was on the other sideline when the Chiefs learned this lesson a couple of years ago.
Several things within that, just this line of logic. I think it totally jives with what we were talking about last week. But it's interesting to hear. I really think Mays and Tice do a great job. And it's also interesting to kind of get that view from the national angle, if we can kind of trust it. And that's why I am always cutting clips from Mays and Tice, because I think we can trust their perspective. I want to push the logic on worst case scenario, best five. And then also how they actually ended up there. But even if you are completely out on Donovan Smith and you think that he is a below average tackle at this point who is not going to improve from last year because it's hard to improve as you get older from around that late 20s, early 30s angle. But coming off an injury, I think there's at least some logic to it. If your plan is to keep Jawan Taylor on the right side, keep Donovan Smith on the left side, then your next two tackles up are Lucas Niang, who until a week ago I thought was going to be this team's starting right tackle, and Wanya Morris, who, while a developmental project, we have seen the Chiefs make do with young, not terribly experienced offensive linemen in pinches as an assessment of their coaching staff, I think. And I don't want to, undercut the achievements of Andrew Wiley, but Andrew Wiley came to the Chiefs with no pedigree whatsoever, right? I mean, he was not this, highly drafted player who flamed out or anything like that. And the Chiefs got the absolute best out of him. He got the best out of his own career, getting paid in Washington now, really played some good football. But I feel pretty good about the Chiefs' ability to make do if they've got athletes, the bodies to pull some of that stuff off. But even then, Wanya Morris is now your fourth tackle, or if you really want a guy who's been in your system long enough that you think you could put him out there and it wouldn't be the end of your offense, Prince Tega Winogo is tackle number 5 now. And really, Joe Thuney is probably tackle number 3 or 4, depending on how quickly you'd shuffle other things around. But if you are ending up in that terrible Super Bowl scenario they're talking about, going back to Chiefs Buccaneers, when there was just not a competent offensive line to be cobbled together, period. If Joe Thuney's playing left tackle in a pinch, the floor at every one of your other positions has already been raised. So if Joe Thuney kicks out, you have Nick Allegretti on this one-year deal where he could be a starting guard in football right now and not bat an eye. Probably should be a starting guard somewhere. You got him on either side. Darian Kinnard may never be an NFL tackle, but most of the league agree that he could be an NFL guard. Keep Austin Ryder around if you want to have a devoted center, or Ryder could also be that guy. Excuse me, or Allegretti could also be that guy if you don't want to keep Ryder on the roster. But there is depth and quality in that O-line group altogether in a way that makes sense to me, even if you're a little more convinced of the floor of Donovan Smith than the ceiling. He should be not a disaster. Seth Kaiser has already done the film review on Donovan Smith, and it's a great read. I think it's unlocked for everybody up on his Chief from the North newsletter. But the swings from Smith seem to be the concern, where he does have some great reps, even from last year when he was hurt and up and down. And then he also has some truly disastrously bad losses. And Seth was saying, and I'll let you hear from the football show guys here in a sec. But in Seth's review, he said he wasn't sure that there was a real drop-off from Orlando Brown in pass protection. Maybe a fall-off in the running game, which would be kind of a bummer considering that the Chiefs' running game has taken some steps. But this idea that his wins can pop off the screen, but his losses definitely do. That is an Orlando Brown trait. Orlando Brown's wins are dominant and his losses are hard to watch. It's one of the reasons that I think he got just a little more flack than he was probably wholeheartedly deserving of. The losses were still bad. I'm not going to pretend that they weren't. There weren't bad reps for Orlando Brown. But that trait being kind of similar for $10 million less, maybe more than that if you want to go to the new contract, $15 million less, is great spending in my book. Totally cool with that. So anyway, this idea that the Chiefs continue to have the best offense in football if they simply have an offensive line to keep 15 upright, I kind of buy. I've got my questions about the pass-catching group, but you might be able to be the best offense in football with a bottom 10 pass-catching group. You probably won't be the best offense in football with a bottom 10 offensive line. Ceilings and floors. The logic of that being a $5 or $6 million insurance policy, I think, is fair. The idea of him being a real value at starting left tackle and then letting Lucas Niang be your swing tackle, also fair. The part of it that I think is most interesting, though, is that very reasonable line of logic that then takes you back to a weird conclusion of, well, the guy that we were penciling in as our left tackle has been a right tackle this whole time. And the best free agent option right now to bolster our offensive line is a left tackle. So should we, are you thinking what I'm thinking? I understand the hesitance that comes with that. This idea that, well, hold on, Jawaan Taylor was working on his left tackle kick slides or whatever in that Instagram video we all saw a month back. Donovan Smith was not a very good left tackle last year. So do you want him on that side? What happens if Smith stinks and you still want to move Taylor to the left? We talked about this last week. Do the Chiefs view Wanya Morris as more of a right tackle or more of a left tackle? His best football in college at Oklahoma was as a right tackle, but he started his career at Tennessee playing on the left side. Matt Lane of KC Sports Network, we were tweeting about it, and we've talked about it now with the KCSN guys. We talked about it with Craig, I think, last week, right? The idea of, I'd like to have a prospect playing in the position where his best tape was, which is what Matt's point was about Wanya on the right side. I don't love saying, oh, man, we fell in love with this play on the right side. Let's kick him back to the left. But you're kind of doing the same thing with Jawaan Taylor, just you've seen him be excellent at one of them at the NFL level. And curious if he could make that switch to the left. I'm still very intrigued by the possibility of them just saying, hey, we're not, as I talked about last week too, I'm not worried about quote-unquote left tackle money. If you're paying your two tackles $25-ish million per year and just average annual value, that's not even the cap math. If you're paying your tackles $25 million or so this year, I don't really care who's on which side. Didn't matter to me with Eric Fisher, Mitchell Schwartz. Wouldn't matter to me with Donovan Smith and Jawaan Taylor. And it seems likely that you would get Smith's best football out of him staying on the left side, and probably would get Taylor's best keeping him on the right. But you don't want Donovan Smith to be the reason you change your plans as to where your highest paid free agent from this offseason is ultimately going to play. So it is actually kind of a tricky needle to thread. How much are you going to let Donovan Smith decide what you do next? Well, part of that depends on how you actually think he's going to play. And so that was the next thing the Athletic Football Show talked about. Again, Robert Mays and Nate Tice talking about Donovan Smith last year and how they see him fitting in 2023.
He was not good last year. We know this.
Yeah.
But he hyperextends his elbow in the first week of the season. He misses 2 games. He has a foot injury at the end where he's in and out of the lineup. He's dinged up the entire year. It was not a good season, but it's a $9 million bet in the best case scenario. Yeah. So let's shoot for the middle. Let's say it's 7 for a starting tackle when you're at this stage of what you're trying to do. And again, just trying to make sure that no matter the worst case scenario, what it looks like, you're protected.
Yeah.
It's a good move. Smart move.
Fun. And it leaves, and also just again, if someone beats him out in camp, who cares? If like Lucas Niang does, like, who cares? Like, that's great. Good for everybody. And
because you're still paying the room a totally reasonable amount based on how
Absolutely.
much everybody is making
Looking
in
at
totality.
the positional payment or what the total payment for each position is. Yeah, it's however you want to shuffle everybody. And I think too is that the Bucks had such a morbid season last year, making the playoffs, but just everybody was just down. Even Tom Brady was down, and Donovan Smith, his MO throughout the kind of even at Penn State and even in the league is that, motivation is that he can be very, front runnery. And of course, the Bucks have won a lot of games, so it hasn't been an issue. And then I think last year we kind of saw that. Now he's leading the league. I think he led the league in holdings last year. Or penalties.
He sure did, buddy.
I'm sure. I think it was way up there as well, like 14 of them, something ridiculous. But
it's rough.
Yeah, but now he gets into with a system with Andy Heck, offensive line coach, Andy Reid, ton of vets, ton of strong. Joe Tooney's right next to him. Patrick Mahomes is the quarterback behind him. And you got a lot of motivating factors here. Oh, we're almost basically guaranteed to win 10 plus games, 11 plus games. We're going to be competing. If you're not motivated here, how else could you be motivated? And he's only 29. He's about to turn 30 next month in June, but still, that's fine. I think that's right in the realm of where tackles are fine. There's not going to be a huge drop off. So I love this flyer. I think it's a flyer plus for a true potential starter at left tackle. That's good business from the Chiefs.
In my mind, it's, can we make sure we got 5?
Yes.
Can we do everything we can to make sure we got 5? And I think that's the motivation. I think that's the thinking behind a move like this. And I think that puts them in a pretty good position to make sure they do.
Their strength of their offensive line, even last year, was the 3 interior guys.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, it's the best 5. And we invested in Taylor. So we're hoping he can be even better. He could be our 3rd best or 2nd best guy. And now, all right, what's the drop off from Orlando Brown? Orlando Brown from 2 years ago is probably very comparable to what Donovan Smith brings this year. That's fine. That's totally okay.
If Donovan Smith is Orlando Brown from any point in his time in Kansas City, you should be thrilled for that. That's like a conversation we had, I think, about DeJuan Jones leading up to the draft. If you're kind of tired of the Orlando Brown archetype or whatever, I get it. But that on a rookie contract, or in this case on a 1-year flyer for a vet kind of contract, the Chiefs are willing to pay Orlando Brown a lot of money. They would have happily paid him less for the same level of production. There just was eventually a cap on how much they're willing to pay there. So don't let that scare you. That's a compliment that he might be Orlando Brown from 2 years ago in this offense. I completely agree that the logic of this, like we've talked about, make sure you got 5. Whatever that combination is, and it's why when we hear from Andy Reid later today, I'm guessing he might give a tiny bit of indication as to kind of where they see guys lining up right now. But I think we are genuinely going to end up in training camp with some questions about who's playing where. I just hope the Chiefs have a best case scenario in mind that they start with. The issue, though, is if you start with Smith on the left, Taylor on the right, and Wanye and Niang are just battling on both sides for the swing tackle job or whatever, or Wanye is clearly working on one side to be the dude there in the future. I don't like that Jenga tower starts to get a little more wobbly. That concerns me just a smidge. I don't want them to move Jawaan Taylor from right to left halfway through training camp because Donovan Smith stinks. And now Lucas Niang, who maybe has been working at left as a swing tackle, now he's getting full-on reps on the right side, or is Wanye working on the right side, or is he the left tackle of the future? Or do the Chiefs just say, hey, we're still planning on moving Jawaan to the left side, it just will be next year now? Because then next year, Wanye and Niang have their real battle for the right side, or maybe it's just Morris's job. I'm curious to see how that shakes out. Here's the other part of that, though, that I am both excited by and wary of. Because we imply this all the time. I think we very rarely put good context into it. Situation matters. Not just for rookies. Donovan Smith's about to turn 30. They're talking there about his, whatever, practice habits or intensity levels or being front runner-ish, whatever that means. I'm sure they've got something to base that on. I don't know Donovan Smith like that. But when you talk about bringing a guy into a good situation, coming off the worst year of his career, I do not think it is self-confused homerism to talk yourself into the best-case scenario in one of the best constructs you can be in as an offensive lineman. Sometimes you say, oh, my favorite team got this player, and he's going to come in here and get coached by my favorite team's best coaches, therefore my favorite coaches, and then he's going to make my favorite team better. You can more or less copy and paste that format to anybody you want, and a home fan base. This is how it works with every draft pick and most free agency signings. You talk yourself into the pick if you've already bought into the culture of your team, of their roster building, all that. But I do think that you've got to be able to acknowledge when the situation really does matter, when it's not just sort of contorting yourself to get the result you want. And in this case, I think the logic is real enough that you should accept it as being a real part of the story. Andy Heck is the offensive line coach who has always valued that versatility of being at different positions. Maybe he's the guy that makes Donovan Smith comfortable being able to play either tackle position. They're the guy that the Chiefs are trusting to make that true for Jawaan Taylor. Maybe it just is, hey, I'm playing next to Joe Thuney. I know that if pressure comes from the left side, if that's where Smith ends up, if pressure comes from the left side, it's probably not going to be his fault. So I know I can trust the inside playing next to Joe Thuney, which means my outside is my responsibility the majority of the time. I'm way oversimplifying, but I am focusing all my energy on what's happening on the left half of my body. I know that the right side, whatever Thuney's assignment is, I know that will be executed because he is a Terminator robot sent from the future to block defensive linemen. And you're in a spot where it's, hey, not only am I playing next to an all-pro, I'm playing in front of the best quarterback currently walking the planet, who is going to put me in good situations. So I'm going to try to keep him in good situations and healthier, in a better spot, both from the coaching and team culture and success and teammates around you perspectives. From all of those, Donovan Smith's going to be in a better spot this year than he was last year. It's also on kind of a prove-it deal. He could get some of these linemen who are, true at the top of their game are playing well into their 30s. I have no idea what Smith's trajectory will be. If he looks slow and banged up all year, this will be the last time that he gets a contract of sizable performance. If he plays good to great football, his next deal will be significantly better than this one. And so I think the match makes sense for a lot of those reasons, even as it's a little bit incongruous. The pieces don't completely snap together with what we think the Chiefs' plan probably was. It's the reason that I'm excited to hear Andy Reid eventually get asked about it later today. He'll be asked about the O-line. I do not know if he'll have anything resembling a real answer because he has not actually had a practice with Jawaan Taylor or Donovan Smith yet. He has had Wanya Morris, so we'll certainly hear about him. But as the group comes together, they've got one more piece that can give them a best five. The fact that it's a little bit janky from where it was just as of the end of the draft is very interesting. Like I said last week, I think it's kind of fun that the Chiefs have made a move that I'm not saying is bad or misguided or will backfire. I don't think it's any of those things, but I genuinely do not know what their vision for the next step is. It's kind of fun. Cuz I don't think they just said sign the best tackle on the market, we'll figure it out. I think there is some plan of here's if Donovan Smith's playing good football, here's what's happening if he's not. But that ultimately you are giving yourself more options when training camp arrives and everybody wants more linemen. Thought it was worthwhile to hear a little bit more on that from the Athletic Football Show guys and to keep kind of projecting what it'll look like when training camp does come around. But it's been rookie minicamp these last 2 days, continuing on today as well. So we've heard from some of the rookies already this weekend. We'll hear from Andy Reid later on in the show today. But when we come back, we'll hear from some of the rookies who have already spoken, the newest members of the Chiefs, talking about their experience at minicamp and how they got to this point. So we'll hear from them next in the Zone.
Take the show with you by listening live on 810WHB.com, in the 810 mobile app.
The Zone here on 810. Joshua Briscoe and the Drake with you. Rookie minicamps have been going on for the Kansas City Chiefs both days over the weekend, and then again today, the final day, which also means we'll hear from Andy Reid later on in the show as well. But getting to hear from some of the new members of the Chiefs, some of these guys we're hearing from not literally for the first time, 'cause I think everybody ended up on a Zoom after they got drafted, but some of these guys we're hearing from in more detail for the first time. But I want to start with a guy who we've already heard plenty from, both from playing with Kansas State over the course of his collegiate career and just from having a real tremendous press conference over the Zoom after the Chiefs selected him on night one of the NFL draft. And, of course, talking about Felix Anudike-Uzomah, I was going to say the Chiefs' newest defensive end, and that's technically not actually true because they double dipped, and we'll hear from the other new edge rusher in a little bit. But first, I want you to hear as the great stories continue to come from Felix. This story about being at an event most of us probably remember. Just a few years ago, as the Kansas City Chiefs were celebrating their first Super Bowl of this modern era and their parade in 2020, Felix had a story about it, and I bet it won't make you feel old at all.
I attended the 2020 parade, yes. What was that experience? It was crazy. I remember, I think it was Damian Williams, I forgot his name, Williams. He was going over, and I was in the front row, and I was trying to get a high five of him, and I tried to get a picture of him. I remember just being a fan. I went with a couple of friends and family, and we came there. We were like camping out, like I think 5:30 in the morning, 5:30 in the morning. So it was a crazy experience being part of that parade.
I think he had said it was his last year of high school that he was there, and that shouldn't even make you feel old. It's just that time flies, because the player, again, I'm now trying to remember what I saw from the tweet in addition to that, but the player who the Chiefs took with their first pick in this year's draft was camping out to be a part of their parade the last time. Not the most recent one, I guess, but in 2020. That's it. Just another incredible moment of his life and football career coming full circle before he's ever taken a snap on an NFL field. Camping out to get a high five from Damian Williams and to see the Lombardis go by in the buses. Now, a few years later, drafted by the Chiefs.
Well, as long as he's not the guy that fell out of the tree at that parade, I'm okay with it.
He was actually standing on a horse with another substance. But now it was fine to have the parade this year. We've covered some ground. 3 years between parades. Just fantastic. I don't think he was amongst those committing petty violations. Although camping out that long to wait for a parade is a violation of some things.
Takes commitment.
A lot of commitment. Felix,
I'd rather camp out for a parade than walk around it.
Boy, that's a good question, Drake. What would you prefer to do? I'm not a big line waiter / camper outer. I did that for my share of concerts in like high school and stuff, and that was cool. But I feel like I've graduated beyond that, and I mean, this is like a long gone concept, but like camping out for Black Friday or whatever. My mom and I remember when I was really little would go, like that night and kind of begin the shopping and scrounging around process, like late Thanksgiving night or maybe super early that Friday morning, depending on, the barriers on Black Friday moved to where it was like, hey, skip Thanksgiving dinner and come to Best Buy instead, and we'll give you a big boombox. It's like, well, I'd rather probably just eat the turkey and watch football with my family, but whatever. But at some point, we did all of that. I don't think I have ever wanted any piece of technology bad enough to spend the previous night in a tent for it, though. And not in a fun tent in a fun way, like on, tent on the sidewalk kind of deal. They got good deals on TVs on the internet now. So I don't think there's anything I'm going to have to camp out for. It's the reason that
a lot of Super Bowl parades on the internet, though.
Well, that's true. But on the other side, so I obviously, as has been well documented on this show, walked like 5.5 miles for, I don't know, an hour and a half or whatever it was through traffic around the entirety of the parade. And was I ready to just descend into the sewers of Kansas City and lay down there and die? Yes, I was. I did frequently think maybe if I just go climb up this tree myself, I can just hide here and become a part of the tree. But I didn't have to be there for like 12 hours. Just, I'm not a big camper in general, I guess, which should surprise virtually no one. Walking's not bad. It's just bad through that kind of crowd at that time when the radio show you were supposed to be doing was already up and running for a while before you actually got there. Not ideal, but great commitment from Felix and a great story. A lot of people, if not camped, at least waited a good long while for a good spot at the parade. Now Felix plays for the team. It's incredible. I want to go next to Keandre Coburn, actually, because he at this point is maybe the underrated sort of quiet pick of this draft, who I'm the most excited by, in part because I think he's going to be a fun member of this team and somebody who the KCSN guys, again, talking to Craig Stout last week, I think he said that Keandre Coburn was his favorite pick out of the draft. The KCSN guys were all happy for the Chiefs to potentially take him, maybe in the 3rd and definitely in the 4th round. In fact, they had I've got my papers here because I'm really committed to this. I believe they had a 4th round grade on Coburn. They did, and a Zach's guy. Shout out to Zach Eisen for his work on this too. But they had a 4th round grade on Keandre Coburn. They were electric when the Chiefs drafted him. There was a high team fit from the KCSN draft guide. They compared him to Brandon Williams, who was a Chief for a little while last year. May have not had a huge spot in your mind, but he was on the roster, I promise you. And Keandre Coburn over the weekend talked a little bit about what he's learning in minicamp.
First off, you got to know what you're doing. You can't play this game if you know what you're doing. So I got to get the playbook to where I understand what I'm doing and things like that so I can play fast. That's also one thing he wants you to do is play fast and run to the ball at all times and move. Just move. Like, don't be on the field and don't do nothing. It's pretty much you got to do something at all times and things like that. So just learn the playbook right now, hydrate and things like that, and just get into the ball as much as I can.
At what point did you know, okay, because you're obviously a bigger size, but like, okay, this is special that I'm this size and I can move as quickly as I can?
Since I was a kid. Since I was a kid, I knew that I can move in my size. Probably some people look at you and be like, oh, he ain't going to be able to get there. Then I get there and they be surprised. So I'm not surprised, but they is. But that's what that is what it is. So, hey, it's funny when I get on the field and they just judge the book by its cover.
I mean, look, I was already going to say, I mean, playing fast is one thing for Rashee Rice. It's a different thing for Keandre Coburn, but he's right. Especially if you make it out to training camp this year, or when the preseason comes around, or whenever he's on the field in the regular season, watch 99 get on his horse. I don't know that he's going to have Colin Saunders' range. Colin Saunders' range for a man of that size was special. But Keandre Coburn's going to be a blast, I think. And even this is just sort of like within the nitty-gritty of, people who are enjoying Chiefs talk in the space between the NFL draft and training camp, when we are really like digging into rookie mini camps. I legitimately love that stuff and love all of this. So I assume it's true for most people listening and hopefully geeking out about it with us right now. I think it's really interesting to hear the foundational building blocks of what these guys are being told as soon as they get in the building. What are the first things that Andy Reid or Steve Spagnuolo or Joe Cullen are telling you right out of the gate? And what Coburn has is a coach's dream for his answer for the first two things. I have to imagine the Chiefs are very happy that these are the two lessons he's taken away from a weekend of rookie minicamp. You got to know what you're doing, and you got to do it fast. You can't be out there second guessing yourself and not knowing the playbook, not knowing your job. And to some extent, this is historically less true for defensive linemen, but I wouldn't tell Chris Jones. Like, defensive linemen don't always have to know everything going on behind them. But again, if you're Chris Jones, it allows you to freelance more and responsibly to be able to say, hey, I know what's going on behind me, so I know what I really can and can't do up here. But you got to know your job. Whatever, if the D linemen are worrying about the coverages or not, you need to know what your job is with the rules of a specific play. And by having the utmost confidence in that, and this is another reason also that this is going to be true for any rookie, wide receivers are going to need to know a ton, not just about what their job is, but what the defense is doing, because you're reading and reacting and adjusting. Obviously, that's true for quarterbacks. True to some extent for your offensive linemen. Creed Humphrey starting at center as a rookie, there's a lot of reading and reacting from the center position. But he had a quarterback behind him who had been in the system already for a while and was commanding the whole thing at a MVP caliber. defensive linemen are going to be able to get into the rotation as rookies. We've seen that happen over the Andy Reid, Steve Spagnuolo era here. That will continue. But you gotta have complete confidence that you know what you're supposed to be doing. And then to do it as fast as possible is maybe an oversimplification. Like maybe this is obvious. I don't know. But everything at the NFL level happens so quickly. Everything. That beat of hesitation is just as bad as you not having that next gear of your speed. It's going to have the same result. It might be worse because if you're out of position and an incredible athlete, you might be able to recover from some of that. I think the inverse of that is why you ended up seeing Spag stick with Ben Neiman getting more playing time than Willie Gay at different times in the season a couple years back. Because knowing where to be and being able to get there are different things. If you can do both, you play every snap. Nick Bolton, that's a guy that they fully trust to be in the right spot and who has the tools most of the time to get there. I think it's interesting that those are the building blocks for how the Chiefs are instructing their rookies at this point. And then let's go to the other defensive linemen of the class. Again, Felix in the first round and Keandre Coburn in the 6th. But B.J. Thompson, the defensive end they took at 166 overall from Stephen F. Austin, had some fun things to say from his camp experience. Let's start with his relationship with Joe Cullen. As we talk about the coaching and the development of these guys, what has he seen and learned from Joe Cullen so far?
Coach Cullen, he came to the private workout with me a couple days after my pro day, so I already kind of had a little impression on him. But, I like him. I like his coaching style. He likes to get after it. Like I said, we're getting in shape while working with him, and he's going to coach you hard. So I'm proud to be, one of his players.
We saw on the draft video, he said, "I told you I was going to come to get you." Did you have some conversations before you got drafted?
Not necessarily. I mean, we talked, the pre-draft process. He said he was going to do all he could, to get me or whatnot. But, and he did just that.
What do you think he liked about you?
Just my ability, my athletic ability. I think my ability to rush the passer and do a multitude of things. I feel like he's excited to be able to coach me.
The pre-draft relationship here is maybe my favorite clip of the stuff we've heard from rookie camp so far. Not because it's some shocking thing that Joe Cullen's involved in the pre-draft process, but because the Chiefs took a Joe Cullen guy. Not necessarily a Spags guy. Joe Cullen, a newer member of this Chiefs coaching staff, last year being his first year as the Chiefs defensive line coach. He had whatever that relationship was with B.J. Thompson entering the draft to say, we're going to come get you, which is no sort of actual promise, right? Teams are going to say that to guys all the time. But to say, hey, I like what you're presenting here. This is a fit we like. Had the pre-draft workout with Cullen. And the reason that there is extra juice to that in my book is because the Chiefs are branching out a little bit in terms of what their defensive line personnel is looking like. Steve Spagnuolo has such a type. Frank Clark paying all that, both in draft assets and in financial assets, made sense because it was the best case scenario version of Frank Clark was a best Spags defensive end that Chiefs could possibly get at that point in time. Getting those big, long edges who can hold the edge in the run game and use some power to go get the quarterback. You'd like to have a little bit of bend or wiggle or whatever every defensive line coach would. But I think it's interesting to kind of keep in mind that, when the Chiefs drafted Joshua Kaindoh in a similar spot a few years back, Kaindoh was pick 144 in 2021. Thompson's pick 166 in 2023. The Josh Kaindoh development has never really taken hold to this point. And this would be his last, real chance probably to make the team and be a contributor, and maybe he can show some stuff in training camp this year. Maybe his second year with Joe Cullen will be enough to see some growth. But interesting that Cullen was the one who had the private workout after the pro day with B.J. Thompson, who had the relationship continuing through that draft process to at least some extent, and then was on the phone when they called him to let him know they were turning the card in. Something to keep an eye on is that it's probably a multi-year process of development, and he wants to be working on special teams as well. But an interesting little tidbit there from B.J. Thompson with Joe Cullen. Also from Thompson, he talked a little bit about not being a highly recruited player, but now making it all the way to the NFL.
You know, coming where I come from, a small two-way school in the middle of England, Arkansas, I guess that would kind of be the reason why I was, a two-star or whatnot. But we haven't really ever had anybody, with the rankings or whatnot come from where I come from. So it's, I was okay with that. I just wanted to put on for my town, show them that anything is possible, no matter where you come from, and I'm hope that I'm accomplishing that.
Is there a moment in there where you made the goal, I'm going to get to the NFL, considering, like you said, where you came from?
So we all, me and my friends, we all had dreams and goals. I remember when we were little, we all said we're going to go to the NFL, we're going to go to the NBA. But, a little bit along the lines, people that it just kind of dies off and people have other plans and, their dreams kind of die. But for me, it never really did. I kind of, stayed the path and always had in the back of my head, that I was going to, play professional sports. And I was blessed enough to make it happen.
When did you know it was going to be the NFL and not the NBA?
Probably around going into my senior year of high school. After my junior year, I felt like, there's a lot of good guys tall and athletic in the NBA. Not really that many guys like me in the NFL. So I figured that would probably be my best bet.
There you have it. The story for B.J. Thompson's a pretty cool one, and makes his way to Stephen F. Austin and now to the NFL. And maybe he and Joe Cullen will have a little relationship there that'll turn him into a real NFL contributor, as the Chiefs certainly hope that he will evolve into. We'll take a break here in the zone. Joshua Briscoe and the Drake with you. We'll turn back to baseball coming up at noon with Craig Brown of Into the Fountains. Mick Schaefer will join us after that. We'll hear from Andy Reid from Rookie Minicamp live later on this afternoon as well. We'll come back and maybe talk a little more football, more zone next.
You're in the zone with Jason Anderson on Sports Radio 8.
We've been playing you some of the clips from rookie minicamp here in the zone. One guy we haven't heard from yet is someone I do want to hear from. New wide receiver Rashee Rice, because he might have the toughest assignment out of any of these rookies in this year's class, because he's got to get up to speed with the Chiefs offense, and he does not have a whole lot of time to do it. Even as Sky Moore last year came in with an interesting skill set that should have translated into production, he just never really got into the swing of the offense, and when he was out there were occasionally issues and things like, finishing a route maybe more than it was initially even planned to be executed to. A lot of the little nitty-gritty we talk about all the time. But Rashee Rice has gotten at least the taste of it, and we'll start with him with what he's generally working on at minicamp before we hear about the playbook. But here's what Rashee Rice had to say over the weekend, talking about where he stands now in rookie minicamp.
Really just learning the playbook and, like I said, not letting it overwhelm you, because for me in college, it was a lot of, not huddling and getting signals. But here I'm huddling up, running to the line of scrimmage, and basically having to not overthink, but be ready to, know my assignment, be able to adjust to the defense.
So knowing your assignment and adjusting to the defense, that is all, of course, right there about not just learning the playbook, but learning the offense altogether. Here he is asked a little more about, again, learning the playbook in particular.
There's a lot of similarities, yes. Just different wording. I call, certain words like a hitch. It's a different call over here. So, when I tell Coach, it's a hitch route, he be like, you got to learn that terminology, because that's not what we call it. So I'm just really learning how to understand and be able to communicate with my coach.
And I think that puts it into a pretty good context of how and why the transition from the college game to Andy Reid's offense is such a steep one. Because it's not just that you're going against a higher level of competition, which is true for everybody that goes from college to the NFL, but you are learning a new language to do that, which is, again, true for rookies across the board. But with the Chiefs in particular, they ask so much of their pass catchers, even just on the fly. They ask so much in terms of, like he said, reading and adjusting after knowing your assignment. We talked about that clip from Keandre Coburn last segment, early in the hour, whenever that was. And it's, I need to learn my job so I can play as fast as possible. And as a defensive lineman, you can reasonably learn your job in rookie minicamp and training camp and get more comfortable with the playbook and have your role increase persistently as you go throughout camp. And then by the time the season arrives, hopefully a little bit before, you are not thinking about your assignment when you need to execute one thing or another. You are just playing at your own maximum speed. With the wide receiver, you have to read and evaluate and adjust and react every single play. It's not hear the call in the huddle, go do it. It is hear the call in the huddle, get out to your spot, be reading, listening, adjusting. That's all before the ball is snapped. Now you are executing full speed, continuing to read and adjust. While Mahomes is reading and adjusting, you also can't just be getting a correct answer. You've got to get the same correct answer that Patrick Mahomes has. There's a real learning curve there. And that's something that I think Rashee Rice is going to have to deal with, just like Sky Moore had to deal with, just like Mecole Hardman and Tyreek Hill had to deal with. I think Rice's particular skill sets might give him a path to do something that Sky Moore did not do as a rookie in the regular season, which is catch a touchdown pass. Sky Moore's first touchdown as a Chief came on a broken play in the Super Bowl, which, hey, great time to have it. I'm sure Rice would love that too. But ultimately, I'm trying to keep my expectations pretty well couched for Rashee Rice and maybe even Wanya Morris, who doesn't project as a starter right now anyway. But all the rest of these defensive picks in the draft, we're going to start seeing them contribute early on as rookies, and that's really exciting. We'll talk about a team that's been a little less exciting. We'll talk about the Royals with Craig Brown next in the Zone.
This is Stephen St. John. QC Kinetics is in the business of giving people back their quality of life and providing much-needed relief for chronic joint pain. And not just providing that relief, but doing it in the most non-invasive way possible, using regenerative treatments from your body's own natural biologics. Where is your joint pain? In your knees, hips, shoulders, or back? Well, QC Kinetics concentrates these impactful treatments right at the source of your pain. And best of all, you walk into the office and walk right out after treatment. No surgery, no downtime, and patients are raving about the results. So what does living life to the fullest look like for you? Finally being able to play golf, hike, walk your dog, enjoy time with your family, whatever it is, don't wait one more day. Get started today with a call to QC Kinetics for your complimentary consultation. 816-412-6299, located off 435 in State Line and in Gladstone. 816-412-6299. That's 816-412-6299. QC Kinetics.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertisements. Compensated dramatization.
What if your car wreck case settled for $1,000 and you later found out that it may have been worth over $100,000?
Insurance companies try to trick you into taking a quick, cheap settlement. Don't fall for it. Call me. My team will get you what your case is worth.
I didn't take that fast, cheap settlement. I called Mike and his team after my wreck, and they got me $125,000.
Call me. I've got this.
816-888-7500. Mike's got this.
Hang with us this summer at the Kansas City Zoo, where every visit is a new adventure. Purchase your Friends of the Zoo membership today for unlimited admission for an entire year, plus discounts on concessions, retail, select events, and more. Your membership also includes discounts to other zoos across the country. Perfect for your upcoming summer vacations. Get your membership and learn more today at kansascityzoo.org/memberships.
WHB Kansas City.
It's Mother's Day time at Salty Iguana Mexican Restaurant, and that means it's time to celebrate Mom. Bring your mom in to eat on Mother's Day, and our gift to her will be a $10 gift card to use on her next visit. Salty Iguana has been Kansas City's favorite Mexican restaurant for over 30 years. Great food and drink specials all day long. Party at your favorite Salty Iguana Mexican restaurant, or order your favorite Mexican food and margaritas to go at saltyiguana.com. So come celebrate Mother's Day at Salty Iguana. Treat Mom to a great special. Come celebrate in Prairie Village, Independence, Olathe, and Lawrence. Come join the fun.
Hi, Kansas City. Kevin Harlan here. I know being a champion means you're a leader in your field, and you always rise above your competition. That's why, when summer temperatures get extreme, our house has a Champion premium system that keeps my family comfortable and cool. Get peak performance in your home by finding a local Champion dealer at championhomecomfort.com. And don't forget to ask about our free 10-year parts and labor warranty. Always leading, never compromising. championhomecomfort.com.
Hey Royals fans, this is MJ Melendez. We've got a big series going on against the White Sox, and my friends at Tickets for Less are your go-to source for tickets. Visit ticketsforless.com today to shop your best selection of Royals tickets and parking passes. At Tickets for Less, you never pay per ticket fees. Plus, you save big when you use my special promo code MJ1 on your next order. That's right, just enter promo code MJ1 at checkout at ticketsforless.com and save today.
Greenlight Dispensary has been voted Best Dispensary in Missouri. With 4 convenient locations in the Kansas City area, including the newest location on 135th and State Line, Greenlight's inventory and variety will exceed expectations. And with extended hours on the weekends, you can always get what you need when you need it. Shopping is easy with convenient options like online ordering for pickup via drive-thru or grab-and-go window. Plus, Greenlight's knowledgeable budtenders are always on hand to answer any questions. Make the switch to Greenlight Dispensary today. Go to greenlightdispensary.com.
The days of build it and they will come are over for websites. You need much more to stand out in the crowd. Digital Lagoon has been developing websites since 1995 and are experts in creating the perfect social media campaign, SEO, and other marketing programs to really bring in business. WHB chose Digital Lagoon to develop the website for our sister station, ESPN Kansas City, and couldn't be more pleased. You'll enjoy working with their programmers, graphic design, and marketing specialists located right here in Overland Park. Contact Jordan at digitallagoon.com.
Together, we're elevating our potential, our pride, our traditions, and our dreams.
Baseball doesn't have to be good for us to talk about it. That's a standard we've had to live by the last few years of Kansas City Royals baseball. But we at least got a moment of nostalgia this weekend to enjoy the times when we talked about baseball, because it was fun winning baseball with Lorenzo Cain retiring a Royal and the Royals getting a win of their own to end the weekend on. So I'm going to go ahead and say the red-hot one-game winning streak Kansas City Royals. I'm Joshua Briscoe, across the glass from the Drake here at Sports Radio 810 WHB. It's The Zone, as we're joined now, as we are every Monday at noon through the baseball season, by Craig Brown of Into the Fountains. You can check out his work at intothefountains.substack.com, and you can follow him on Twitter at CraigBrown_KC. Craig, we're going to run the gamut from Lorenzo Cain to the actual baseball team and everything in between. But how are you faring right now with the more downs than ups of a season where the Royals have not quite yet broken double-digit wins?
I think you're being generous with the ups. Just overall, I mean, because it's been a lot of down, and you look at the schedule and you're like, okay, April, that was tough. There are a lot of good teams. Royals didn't fare well. An opportunity to get well. They're at home where, they haven't played well at all, but the Oakland A's are coming in, and hey, it's an opportunity. The A's they're tanking on purpose. They're bad for a reason, and to win only 1 out of 3. That's a tough one. That's a tough weekend. No matter how you slice and dice that up. So I keep searching for that Buddy Bell rock bottom kind of moment, and I'm not sure that we're there yet, because you just keep the losses just keep piling up.
Yeah, and I don't want it to feel like we fully just step back into a preseason time machine, but I'm curious to at least revisit the idea now of like, hey, so what are we actually watching for at this point? And I don't mean like, why are we watching? Because a lot of us, grew up loving and may still love baseball, depending on how beaten down we're feeling. But what is the goal of the rest of this season? It becomes harder to define that when there's no winning to be found and some of your kind of cornerstone guys are underperforming. But if we kind of reevaluate that now here in still early-ish May, has the goal of this season changed for you at all?
I don't think so. I think that the disappointment in the season is more like the pitching is a lot further off than we had thought, and we knew that it was a ways off. It's just the depths that it has sunk to are maybe a little bit surprising. The fact that the hitters, the young core, they are getting a lot of rope. They should get a lot of rope as an opportunity. So often, in Kansas City, we've seen guys come up and, they get, a month here or there, and then, the manager's like, well, I've seen enough. I can't do this. And, with this organization at this moment in time, they need to keep the young hitters in that lineup and seeing if they can, find something that clicks, that works for them, hopefully working with the hitting coaches to unlock something. But, so that the season has always been about, I feel like, evaluation. And so, it's not surprising that they're, not contending or that they're scraping 4 wins. It's just the number of losses is a little disheartening. I thought that they would be a little bit further along in the process than they actually are.
Like you said, I don't think anybody was ever like scoping out the AL Central Championship T-shirt designs before the season. Like we knew, but deflating or discouraging or whatever it may be, that's what it feels like to me to even like just try to be enjoying. Hey, a winning effort. And do we see anything resembling a moment or growth for your Bobby Witt and Vinny Pasquantinos, who, the two of them got on base twice combined yesterday, and the Royals won in a blowout offensive firestorm 5-1 victory. I want to make sure that I'm looking for the right things, because it really doesn't feel good to me, and you're writing about these guys darn near every day. It doesn't feel good to me to dwell on how bad the losses feel But I wonder what's going on in the front offices too, because they've got the right vision for where their actual cutoff to perform is, and when contention should begin. But I feel like maybe maybe I'm miscalibrated at this point, because it's not even that I am expecting too much. I don't even know when I'm supposed to start kind of cranking those expectations back up again.
Yeah, I think that's a difficult question to answer, because of kind of the setbacks that we've seen this season. I mean, looking at the roster, I can say with confidence that we don't need to worry about Vinny Pasquantino, right?
Right.
Dude's a professional hitter.
Yes.
I think that I remain. I'll continue to buy in on Bobby Witt Jr. because you see the flashes. Every once in a while, he kind of goes walkabout at the plate, with the pitch selection and everything. And you figure that that's just part of the learning process there. So you got a couple of really good building blocks. I'm enthusiastic with what we've seen from Michael Garcia. Coming up here just for this homestand, and it's just been scorching the baseball, just been ripping it, and struck out just once too. I mean, the guy's putting the ball in play, and good things are happening. Is he a core guy? Well, this is a great opportunity to find out. Keep him in that lineup and continue to do that. So. Today they moved on from Franmil Reyes, who they optioned down to AAA, last week. But they said, hey, we've seen enough. That's, in my mind, maybe a positive thing. There's a couple other veterans on the roster right now that they need to take a hard look at and, maybe move on from and bring more guys up like a Garcia or like Nick Prado has gotten into the lineup. And again, it feels like something is clicking with him a little bit. The strikeouts are always going to be there with Prado, but he seems to have a more relaxed, a more controlled approach with a game plan at the plate now than he's had previously that I've seen him, at least in his time in the majors. So there are some positives in this lineup. It's getting everybody to click all at once. And one thing that I feel like we have seen, the lineup has always been very top heavy the last couple of years. 1 through 4 you feel pretty good about. 5 through 9 not so much. Now with Garcia, Prado up, it feels like a couple of those holes have kind of been filled in a little bit. It feels like there's a little more balance in the lineup, which is, I think we got to take the positives where we can get them with this team, and I think that to me that's feeling a little bit like a positive. So
I don't think that that's overly generous, because I think there's something to that where even. Not only in, hey, I'd like to see what Garcia is going to show for the foreseeable future, but just this idea that the bottom of the lineup still demands your attention. When it's not just like, all right, those are a bunch of dudes who might not be here in 2 months and definitely won't be here in 2 years, so this is what I'm going to go get my drink, and now the game has lost me because I've been upstairs for 20 minutes, based on a true story. But when you go, hey, you know what? I'll stick around for an inning of Prado, Garcia, Massey, Eaton. And then, like yesterday, that's just the end of yesterday's lineup, and then Jackie Bradley Jr. in the 9-hole, and he's one of those guys, 2 months, 2 years, whatever. You can't always get a perfect 9 for 9 out of that group, but there is something that can be compelling there. So I've got a positive and negative sort of tinted version of this for you, and let's go positive first, because we've been very negative so far. It's coming from an honest place, but I don't like to dwell there. When you are sitting out on your porch or patio or driving around, and when you think about something with the Royals that leaves you smiling, nodding, thinking about the future in a way that gives you a little bit of hope, what's the thing that you find yourself latching on to and envisioning brighter days with?
Wow. I mean, it would be the development of the hitters, like a Pasquantino. I mean, I've said before, he's a guy that I would pay to watch. He's a guy you buy a ticket, and he's in the lineup, and you know that you're going to get some fantastic at bats from, and him and Salvi continues to just be a wonder. I don't know how that dude continues to produce the way that he does. So, I mean, for me, those two guys are, it's, the young and the old, that mix that, that's kind of nice to have in the middle of the order. I'm a fool. I'm an idiot, moron, however you want to refer to me. But, I do enjoy watching the young kids come up and getting into the lineup. And I like that the Royals have changed course and seem to be committed. And we're not seeing, Jackie Bradley Jr., you brought him up, but, he's kind of a necessary guy on this team because Drew Waters went down in spring training. They needed some depth in the outfield, so they got him. Now Kyle Isbell is down right around the time when Drew Waters is supposed to be back, so they still need Bradley as that outfield depth. We know who he is. We know what he's here for. The Royals are doing it right, by putting him in the 9-hole when they play him, which is now more than he has been while we're waiting on Waters to come back. So, there's I guess that dovetails in a little bit too, trying to stay on the positive. I still have faith in this coaching staff. I see some things, game decisions, lineups, that I like, that to me seem to make some sense, and you understand the thought process behind it, and it's I think that's a positive too. The process won't always equal results. At some point, talent has to float to the top, and that's again what this year is all about. It's putting the guys in position to succeed. Will they? Are they? And then you make a decision on personnel, from there based on, those situations.
Yeah, I'm with you on all that. I like all that. You put a little bit of helium back in my balloon on at least being able to go on that. It's nice. We want it to. This will be the segue when we talk about Lorenzo Cain, but I don't want to yet because I still do want the inverse of this, which is really the thing that I had to not just open with, which is when you are laying in bed staring at your ceiling in the dark of night, as I like to think we all do. If not, I need to deal with that on my own time. But when you're staring at the ceiling going, man, I just don't know if this team's going to be able to put it together, or if this is going to be the era of Royals baseball that has light at the end of the tunnel. Is there one element in any form that really sticks in your craw that you go, oh man, if this doesn't work, this is going to be why?
I mean, we haven't talked about the pitching yet.
We haven't for like 20 minutes.
That dark path. What we saw from Brady Singer, on Saturday, that was tough. That was just tough. Brad Keller, I've always figured, he was a guy that, if somehow he was around in Kansas City when they were able to turn this around, he would be like a swingman type guy, maybe fifth starter sort of guy. That by some twist of fate, you made it into the playoffs. He's the guy that is going to be, the break glass in case of emergency guy in the bullpen. So, the fact that those two guys, ran out in this Oakland series, and Oakland's offense is, Oakland and Kansas City came into this series scoring the same number of runs per game, right? I think they were averaging about 3.7 runs per game, which was, not rock bottom in baseball, but like really close to rock bottom. And the A's lineup just completely manhandled, Keller and Singer on Friday and Saturday night. I mean, that's just that shouldn't be happening at this point. But again, it's like, what can these guys do coaching-wise at the major league level? Is there a lot of stuff to undo from previous coaching that they received? Probably. Is it possible to undo all that? I don't know. You look at the minor leagues. There's some positive in the minor. There's a lot of positive in the minor leagues, especially the lower levels with the really young guys in the system. There's been some really nice positive results. So you're hoping that is like the overall arching organizational pitching philosophy that is coming from the guys at the major league level, filtering down to the minor leagues. So maybe in 3 years, 4 years, when these guys get up here, which just sounds awful, right? I mean, we got to wait that long, but by the time they get here, hey, we'll have something in the system. The philosophy that has really been ingrained in these guys. But gosh, the pitching has just been so. We'll have one good start and hey, these guys have turned the corner. Hey, look at this. And I mean, I'm guilty of it. I bought into Singer earlier, a few starts ago, when he was throwing a couple of different sliders and breaking out the changeup, and then in this last start, can't locate the sinker to save his life. The slider's ineffective because he can't locate the sinker, and he threw like 2 changeups. So I mean, that'll keep anybody up at night.
Is that for Singer with the pitch usage and placement? Is that looking like regression to you? Is that looking like inconsistency? Does the difference between those two things matter? And is there a pattern that gives you any sort of indication of where you think it's going? Because man, I mean, you want to talk about the darkness of night. It's not just if this crew's not good, it's going to take a second to to fill in the gaps. If this group of young pitchers we've been talking about for however many years now doesn't pay off in almost any way, the timeline for the rebuild just starts over, right? I mean, it feels like you're pulling the rug out.
Yeah. You're really on that hamster wheel, right?
Yeah.
You're moving, but you're not going anywhere. With Singer, I mean, I've got a lot of questions. The World Baseball Classic, where he, didn't pitch, basically shut down, for a couple of weeks in the middle of spring training. Is that still like a lingering, impact?
Yeah.
You would think not at this point, but, hard to say. He was so good last year that I thought it was highly unlikely that he would improve, right? Which sounds strange, but he took such a giant step forward that to ask him to even to be better than that's a bit of a leap in my mind. But to see him fall back, this far, that is surprising as well. The organization has to figure that out. I mean, they absolutely have to at least get into an area where they're pushing 500, say, because in my mind, with expanded playoffs and AL Central that is usually ripe for the picking, just any team that can play 500 baseballs in the mix. So if you're in that mix at 500, around 500, you get a couple of bounces that go your way, and next thing you know, hey, you're pushing towards October. So, The Royals really need to unlock this at the major league level. Otherwise it feels like that entire draft class from 2018, which was going to be the building block, is just a washout. And for that to happen, like you said, it resets everything about any kind of rebuild.
Talking to Craig Brown, Into the Fountains.substack.com. You mentioned briefly earlier that the Royals made a trade today. We mentioned it near the top of the show. The Royals acquire right-handed pitcher James McArthur from the Philadelphia Phillies in exchange for Junior Marin and cash considerations. Minor league outfielder there, 19 years old in the Royals system, now headed to the Phillies. They get McArthur back, a 26-year-old right-handed pitcher. I don't know how deep in the weeds you are on either of those guys or just the move in general, but did that hit the radar for you as something interesting in terms of the Royals getting a little transactional today?
Well, I mean, I think that it's an acknowledgement from the Royals that they need to continue to accumulate as many arms as they can. And, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised that, if McArthur is healthy and ready, I wouldn't be surprised if we saw him up here rather soon in Kansas City. I know that he struggled this year. He has a high ERA. I do know that, a couple of years ago, he was in the Phillies' top 30 prospects, according to Baseball America. He also has a curveball that is, supposed to be a really plus pitch. He walks, a fair number of guys, but he can get the strikeouts too. He's just been really hittable, I think, from what I've seen, just from looking at stat lines and whatnot. Hate to scout by the stats, but it seems like the results for whatever reason haven't been there. So again, the Royals, if they're really making strides in the minor leagues organizationally with a pitching philosophy, bring these guys in, see if you can unlock somebody that can, I mean, again, you're not trading for an ace. You're not trading for a frontline starter, but you're just hoping to be able to get some innings from a guy that, maybe if you have the right key, you unlock something for him, and he becomes a viable major league pitcher. The flip side is, and I think that J.J. Piccolo would say this himself, is that in order to get even a lottery ticket, you got to give up something in return. And I know that they had designated MacArthur for assignment, so they either had to trade or release him. The Royals obviously see something in there that they think that they can get something out of him, but the cost of that is Junior Marte or Marin, and so but again, a 19-year-old who hasn't progressed past the complex league, who is 6'2", 245 pounds or so, big guy, So you got questions, how his development path is going to go. You hate to throw something out there that could come back to bite you, but the Royals, I think, they know their guys. They know what they've got in the system, and they need arms. They gotta have pitching. As we've seen, in this homestand, they are running through pitchers like crazy. Called up Max Castillo, because they just got to keep that revolving door in the bullpen going, because they're in just this constant need of arms.
Well, it was cruel of me to save this to the end for you, but I did want to at least spend some time here looking back on a happier time. You've got a great piece people should go check out. Again, intothefountains.substack.com about Lorenzo Cain's retirement and more broadly about Lorenzo Cain. I don't know that there's a specific part of this I need you to wax poetic about more, Craig, but the floor is yours, both for what you took away from the retirement of Lorenzo Cain and what you found in yourself, perhaps, or what you found looking back on Cain's career a little bit that people can read up more on the Substack.
Yeah, I just thought it was so cool that he was so touched. It obviously meant a lot to him, and I always think it feels a lot of times like a one-way street, right? The fans, heap the adoration, the praise on the athlete. The athlete is kind of, here to play the game, but they move on. And for Cain to have love, really, it's love for the organization, and so for him to come back to so the Royals could have that ceremony for him, I think that just spoke volumes about who he is as a person and as a player. He was a perfect ball player. I kind of went through it. The best of the best are the five-tool players, right? Your Ken Griffey Juniors, back in the day, these guys that just can do everything. And Cain, wasn't necessarily a five-tool player, but he did possess those tools to some degree, and they would manifest themselves at different times, and usually at really important times. For me, I know that the team, the Royals are really Salvi's organization. He's truly the face of the franchise. But Cain was the dude that made everything go, right? He was the guy that just when he was on that team, that lineup, the defense, was just running at full throttle, and just an electric player to watch, easy guy to root for. I was really happy that he was able to do that. I think that history of all sports franchises is really important, and I think that Kansas City, even though we've done a lot of losing, but the history is something that a lot of great players have come through here. There's been a lot of great teams, not so much recently, but all that should be celebrated, I think, and so it's really cool when a player or an organization can get together for a moment like that. It was just the ceremony was really well done. Really top to bottom. I thought Ryan Lefevre did a great job. It was cool to see, Ned Yost back. Alex Gordon looks like he has not skipped the weight room.
Has not touched a carb still.
Oh my God! I said, I hope that World Series trophy weighs literally like 2,000 pounds, and that he's the only guy in the world that can lift that. Because my God, he's just like They need to do something for Alex along the lines of Lorenzo. I know that we're prevented from doing that with COVID and everything. But, you know, in my mind, he's kind of another guy that needs to get that sort of treatment too. A lot of you know, great players, great stories from those teams, and they should continue to celebrate that.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, if you want to take the trip down memory lane a little bit, or want to keep reading about the current Royals, you can check out all of Craig's work on Into the Fountains. That's intothefountains.substack.com. You can follow Craig on Twitter as well, at CraigBrown_KC. Craig, appreciate you spending some time with us here. Hopefully we have more than 1 or 2 extra wins to talk about next week.
Hey, yeah, hope so. A few more wins would be nice.
If we could get to 3 or 4, you know what? Let's just say 3. And they'll be, you know, I'm going to guarantee it.
Yeah.
I'm going to guarantee the Royals have double-digit wins next time we talk to you. How about
Let's
that?
not get greedy, but yeah, you know, I hope so. We'll see.
We'll take 10, 11 or 12 would be nice. Craig, appreciate it as always. We'll talk to you on next Monday.
All right, thanks a lot.
It's Craig Brown, intothefountains.substack.com. Again, great piece on Lorenzo Cain. Great stuff all week long on the current Royals, but nice to take a little bit of time to look back on one of the greats as well. We'll take a break here in the Zone. Mick Schaefer of KSHB 41 joins us next.
Want to see more of The Zone? Watch the show live on the Sport.
Hey, Mick.
Yo.
Mick Schaefer, KSHB 41. I've seen you on TV. You're in the zone now. Do you know that?
I do. I'm fully aware. I like radio better than TV.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I do too, but I get to do only the fun parts of TV. No one ever makes me like carry a camera or like film anything.
Right.
So I have a pretty easygoing TV experience.
And if they do make you film something, raise an eyebrow because there's no longer film in that camera.
Really? Every time
It's been filming the camera for a generation.
Every time I see you guys at Chiefs pressers or anything, I just give a film canister to Aaron Ladd. Just every time I keep handing him to him, he keeps saying, I don't need
He's
this.
having to cut it and splice it together and all that stuff.
I said, no, you don't need it, but I want you to have it. And then, he's able to splice it up over micro SD cards, and it's miraculous. But I see you guys on TV every night, so it must be working.
Yeah, that's what it is. We're on SD cards now.
That makes a lot of sense. What's the capacity on those babies?
So 32 gigs usually. There's some 64s as well.
That's it
holds a lot.
I got a 128 micro SD card in my Steam Deck.
Nice,
big fancy flat. They get micro SD cards. They get so small now.
What's a Steam Deck?
It is like a handheld gaming PC, basically.
Oh, yeah.
Steam is like the PC software. They made their own hardware, and you might think, oh wow, well that's like a pretty beefy gaming device. You must play all the latest titles. I mostly play an emulated version of NFL Street 2 for GameCube, but it's the greatest game ever made, so who needs other video games?
Is your wife, and you'll have a wife here in a couple weeks,
I will,
right?
And not in addition to
Is
my
she going to
fiancé,
be
I'm
like
the same
a
person.
gaming kind of widow to where like it's gonna be her most of the time doing what she wants because you're going to be like in your little gaming room in your gaming chair playing your gamey games?
So one of the real benefits of the Switch and of the Steam Deck is they're
Mobile.
handheld, so they can be mobile, and so a real point of growth in our relationship over the last 6 months to a year or so, I think now, is at one point Renee was like, you know what, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna go get a Switch. So she got her own little pink Nintendo Switch.
So she's the one that had
to
to grow in the relationship, not you. Like maybe cutting back on any of that.
No, absolutely not. It was like, look, we don't want to be unequally yoked here. You know, that's biblical. So it's really most important is that you start playing more video games. She's had that Switch for more than a year now, I guess. But she started playing Stardew Valley on her phone. That was the gateway drug, and then the Switch, and now we just play our handheld games on separate couches, and it's sort of our modern version of the two lazy boy recliners side by side to watch Wheel of Fortune or whatever. Now we play Animal Crossing. That's our future.
And you're playing it separately, right? You're not in the same game together
most of the time, but you can do that. So I've got hundreds of hours of Animal Crossing already logged, and she just started for the first time. So she came over to my island to sell some cherries. Like that's where we're at right now as a couple, and it's really really powerful.
That's neat. Are you getting like maybe not cold feet, but more butterflies and nerves and everything, knowing that the countdown's here? We're down the stretch.
It
Kentucky
is
Derby.
close. It is we are sub 2 weeks at this point. The planning meetings have ramped up further. It's all stuff that Renee's already basically locked in the details, but now it's like, hey, these are pretty much locked in. Do you want to talk to the DJ and coordinator and photographer? Yes, I do. I've got opinions. I just didn't want to do any of the work, which is why radio is so good. You can just have opinions on everything. But so no, the some of that has really we've kind of buckled down on, and I'm about 25% just sort of anxious that it'll all go well, and about 75% the Joker standing in the street in the dark night just yelling, hit me, I want you to do it, I want you to hit me, because it's just been driving towards us now for a year and change, and I'm ready for it to get here. I think it's going to be good. Renee's planning has been exceptional, and I'm ready to get married and then go disappear in Europe for 2 weeks or whatever we're doing.
You're going right away?
We got a day between wedding
open
and
up all your
travel.
gifts that day and then take off.
That's right. It is going to be, I think, just a maybe even like a cryogenic chamber kind of thing for a few hours, open some gifts, and then just charge as much as possible. And then just prepare for jet lag, I guess. I don't know. I've not left the country. Renee is a seasoned world traveler at this point.
I've
just have
never
my
been
passport.
to Mexico, Canada, nothing.
Nothing. No countries other than
But you have your
this
passport
one.
all set.
My what? I do. I got my passport a few months ago, but it was the first time I had gone through the process of getting a passport.
It's the worst.
I ended up being able to get through it pretty smoothly, and I had a pretty good mustache rocking at the time, so I look a little bit like a sheepish international spy. I think in my passport. I don't know. When did you leave the country for the first time, Mick? Not fleeing the law, but like legally.
Sure. That's a great question. I think I was. I would have been 12. Tijuana.
Wow. Really?
With my parents.
That's good.
We were there
Good
for
note.
the 1988 Holiday Bowl. Barry Sanders, I was 11 still.
Amazing.
And then drove down to Tijuana. But back then, in like 1988, you didn't need a passport.
Yeah, just go.
You just go.
Just go down to Tijuana.
It was my first trip in '76. I was 4. All I remember was there was a bus and it was dusty. That's all I remember.
To
But
Tijuana?
Yeah, but no passports. And then I went to Canada when I was about 12, and there was no passport either. You just drove across. There you were.
Nothing. Even when I went to Europe in high school. Gosh, I'm sure we had to have one for that. I think I did. I remember getting the passport in high school. So I went to Germany and a couple other countries in high school.
I don't
for a
think
long time for Canada and Mexico. You just drive back and forth.
So the passport was really more of an intercontinental kind of thing. Like if you're crossing a body of water, you're going to need to be able to check in. But you want to just hop up to Canada, down to Mexico. See you there?
Yep.
I didn't know that.
They've got the passport cards now. So if you want to just drive across the border or boat, you can use those. But if you're flying, you need a passport.
I saw that there was a passport card, and then on my research there was
It's just cheaper, and I think it probably turns around quicker and getting it.
Yeah. Okay. So I had no idea what a brand new world we had lived in, where you could just hop over borders previously. But what was your Germany experience? Why were you in Germany? Is it high school?
I was in high school, German class, as it were. Took a 2 to 3 week trip over there in March. And it was awesome. For like a week, we all stayed with our own separate host families.
Yeah.
So I stayed with the host family for a week. It was a little odd, but overall it was great. We saw Austria, Switzerland, Germany, Liechtenstein. Drove through Liechtenstein. It's like the size of Rhode Island.
I didn't know that either.
Very small.
Do you think you get that family to put you up again for this Chiefs game? Or
maybe I can't remember what town it was in. We're in Bavaria, which is like southern Germany.
Great
I don't know
cream,
my
Bavaria.
Yeah, I don't know my German geography that well anymore. I don't know where Frankfurt is. It's right in the middle.
I just know the ones that are related to food.
Yeah,
things.
well, Frankfurter.
Yeah,
There you go.
Frankfurter and Bavarian cream and
Yeah.
I think you said
That's right, because I mean you could drink over there at 16, or at least that's what we thought, and we did. And I say that we had a couple beers at the Hofbrauhaus in München in Munich, and so it was great. So I've been there, but that's the only time I haven't been to Europe since. I'd love to go.
Are you going, or is anyone going to go for the Germany game?
Yeah, I assume me.
Okay. So it's coming back.
But we don't know. I mean, what we last week was like a that was like a tabloid in Germany.
It was very weird.
Posting those
Yes.
dates, the dates and the teams, and so since then I've read that maybe don't buy fully into that.
Don't book your schedule off
Yes.
of the one German tabloid.
Maybe we'll find out today from the NFL. It usually comes out before the schedule release.
That's right. That's true.
Which is Thursday.
Well, but have you seen the story today?
Oh boy, no.
This is my favorite NFL news story maybe ever for a very particular reason. Today the news is that the NFL isn't sure they're going to have the schedule ready in time for the big reveal on Thursday. That they may have to delay the release of the NFL schedule. Something no one ever thought about 5 years ago. Now there is not just drama of what the schedule will be, because we already know the teams that are going to be playing each other. That's been done by the algorithm since the moment the season ended.
We know home and away.
We know home and away. We know the teams on the schedule. But I think it was a COVID thing where the NFL was like, everyone's at home. We don't have any way to create more content. What if we try to make content out of the releasing of the order, the way these games are played? Well, now, a few years later, tension as a schedule release show is now in jeopardy. Everybody buckle up. I mean, it's truly some of the greatest drama in sports. The NFL will just will find the milk to bring out of any piece of content whatsoever.
They will. And then you add all these extra wrinkles to the schedule, like a 17th game, like Germany trips, international games.
Tons of international games.
I mean, there's so many moving parts here to get a working schedule for everybody, and that is somewhat fair for everybody. It's already sort of clunky with the 17th game, right? You have 9 home games or 9 road games, and then with now, I mean, they're playing on almost every day of the week now.
Yep. Yes.
So many multiple Thursday games now.
Recently about maybe another day getting opened up. I don't remember even where that was, but
yeah. I think it could be for too long. Saturdays could be more and more Saturdays could be opening up, but we'll see. And so we asked last night on Sound Off, basically, what are you looking forward to the most? All 3 of the panel members, Nate and Jason and Blair, they all said, who are the Chiefs going to play in that first game? That Thursday night opener is what you're looking forward to. Who do you think?
Who do I think they will play in that first week? I think there's a chance
you want a
that
list
the
of
NFL.
Home
Yeah,
games?
sure.
Here you go.
I think there's a chance the NFL doesn't go full out for the Bills or Bengals in week 1. I kind of like Miami. The Tyreek Hill revenge game has a little less national juice than Cincy or Buffalo. Those are primetime games later in the year. Eagles is a primetime game later in the year. Can they get? They're not going to give them 4 primetime home games though. Maybe they will have to give one of them to the Bills or Bengals.
Well, and they talked about a couple. Jason might have been one of them.
Chargers.
The Jets, perhaps. But that would have to be a road game.
Yeah, and they won't make.
Do they do that? Do the Super Bowl champs open up on the road ever in that Thursday night?
No, because they got to do the banners and all of that, right?
Yeah,
so I think that's got to be at home.
I think it's gonna be a home game.
So I think it has to be AFC West or Bills, Bengals, Dolphins, Bears, Lions, Eagles. And the Bears had been the team most recently talked about in Germany.
I think there's 3 choices. I think it's Bills, Bengals, or Eagles.
I'm a little bit afraid they might just say, "Hey, Chargers are a good draw because
they played the Chargers
won
so many times to open up the season."
They were the first. Yeah, they were the first Thursday night Chargers game last year for Prime. Did they not open the game on a Thursday, or that game was like on NBC?
The Chargers game?
No, the week 1 Thursday night game last year I think might have been on NBC because they did.
Yes, it was. That's how they do it. It wasn't on.
And so
Fox
week 2 didn't
Prime
the Prime one. Okay. Yeah, I would be happy with Bills, Bengals, or Dolphins, but I think so many of those are already like Week 12 Sunday Night Football, and I don't know if they'll use one of those prime matchups.
And we all think have we narrowed it down to either Bears or Lions for Germany?
I think so. I remember hearing Bears long enough ago that predated the German tabloid that has also said that they would play there next year. And it seems wild that they would do that, at least with, I mean, I guess if it's your international game, it doesn't really matter if it's home or road, I suppose. But I think you get Justin Fields in Germany. That feels all right. It's an interesting enough team. Chiefs should win. They shouldn't have to deal with the Bills or Bengals in Germany. That seems unlikely.
Yeah, I would not want that.
NFC team feels right.
NFC team feels right to where it's like, you know what? It's not a division. It's not a conference opponent. Whatever happens. NFC team.
I think we just need to go ahead, and I've got my passport. So if you want to go ahead and book my ticket, I'll come with you guys.
Yep.
I can do some reporting on the ground. I will not film or SD card anything or carry anything.
You need to. Will you guys send somebody? You think?
I have no idea.
We should do a deal. Like I've already thought if I find I'm going to do the Babbel or something similar to it.
Yeah.
To get, I've got, it's a very low base, but I think it's a good base of German still in my brain somewhere. And to just kind of build on that to where I could maybe just, get around. I can get around for a day or 2 or 3 in Germany, and that would be fun to just see how accurate are these commercials that say Babbel and like you learn in 3 weeks. You know what? You don't know my learning style.
I want you to be there for 2 or 3 weeks just for all of the following Mick around Germany stories. Your like Anthony Bourdain experience,
Right, yeah.
I think, covering Chiefs whoever in Germany would be stupendous. But we have you right here, right now, so you don't need to go anywhere. Internationally, domestically, Mick Schaefer, KSHB 41. More with him in the zone next.
You're in the zone on Sports Radio 810 W.
The Zone still rolling on with Mick Schaefer, KSHB 41 with us here. For a little while longer, we'll hear from the Chiefs from rookie minicamp. Andy Reid will talk in a little while. We'll hear from him at that point. Anything else that really gave you the drama you needed this weekend, Mick? We'll do Learn Funniest Best next. We don't need to spoil any of that.
No, I had I had a great weekend. I an extended weekend because I took some time off after the draft. It was well deserved. It was needed.
Absolutely.
Right. I was getting crabby. I was yelling at people more than I normally do. So took some extra days off. So it was a great weekend, and a lot of that will be part of the LFB coming up.
Fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, just a lot of it.
Okay. Well, maybe like all of is there an LF and a B? Just from the way you lived your life this
considering
weekend?
making this one story just an L, an F, and a B. 'Cause
Okay.
I learned stuff in it. It was funny, and it was the best.
That's really exciting.
Best.
I've got my LFB that we'll save, but I think everyone right now could learn something that might be the best bit of information they gain today, because we have the ability. Don't start calling yet. We're going to pick a number in a minute. We have the ability to send you to the NHRA Nationals with Heartland Motorsports, and we're going to let you call in for a chance to do it. But just because we're talking about drag racing doesn't mean that the first one calling in is going to win. I'll let Mick pick a number here in a second. Mick, think about your favorite numbers.
Okay.
Ideally
8 and 10-ish.
somewhere, I would say 8 or 10, both great numbers. Somewhere probably not more than 10, just for Drake's own ability. But the NHRA Nationals are here. Drag racing fans, you want to score free tickets to the big race this summer at Heartland Park Motorsports Park in Topeka. All you got to do is listen to The Zone. We're going to be giving away tickets all week long. You're going to have a chance to win not just a pair of tickets to the Menards NHRA Nationals, but also $50 to Johnny's Tavern. Plus, if you don't win them here, you can receive a great discount for the big race by going to heartlandmotorsports.us. heartlandmotorsports.us. Type in the promo code 810 and you'll receive 20% off. 20% off using the promo code 810. Two great ways to get tickets to the NHRA Nationals. Listen to The Zone and win a pair of tickets along with the Johnny's gift card, or get 20% off by using the promo code 810 at heartlandmotorsports.us. Heartland Motorsports Park, House of Speed. What caller number is going to win these tickets and $50 to Johnny's?
Well, we're on 810, so let's go caller number 7.
Caller number 7, we're sending you to Johnny's, to the NHRA Nationals. It's mixed math.
I've covered those. Those are fun. They're loud. Bring your earplugs. They burn rubber. They burn eardrums.
Burning gas. Bring the octane. Hit that NOS button. And hit that button that goes 913-3810-810 to call in and get them. All right, we'll take our own little pit stop here. We'll come back with Learn Funniest Best next with Mick Schaefer in The Zone.
Vanderbilt's has all your work boots and clothing covered. Vanderbilt's has great prices on all the best brands. Keen Utility, Wolverine, Carolina, Double H, Timberland Pro, Carhartt, Reebok, Ariat, and more. If you're looking for athletic, hiking, pull-on, or traditional lace-up, Vanderbilt's has you covered too. They even carry widths and large sizes in stock. Vanderbilt's also carries a full line of work denim, fleece, shirts, socks, and gloves. Vanderbilt's with stores in Lawrence, Topeka, and Wamego. Go to vanderbilts.com for more information.
Work Boot Center, Vanderbilt.
Robert Brogdon's Olathe Kia has no risk and all the reward with their 90-day money-back guarantee on every new Kia. Kickstart your spring with an incredible selection of new Kias like Sorrento, Seltos, and Soul. The new 2023 Tellurides and Carnivals are in stock at Brogdon. Visit OlatheKia.com.
When summer temperatures get extreme, your house needs a Champion premium system that keeps your family comfortable and cool. Go to ChampionHomeComfort.com and don't forget to ask about their free 10-year parts and labor warranty. Always leading, never compromising, ChampionHomeComfort.com.
Hey Kansas City, this is MJ Melendez. Tickets for Less has the best seats at the best prices, and you never pay per ticket service fees, saving you big at checkout.
I don't know how much of Nick's yelling made it into the segment, but I hope it's all of it.
Nope.
Drake's too good at
I
his
just
job.
found out something. It's my learned, which I don't know why I didn't know that beforehand.
Well, but it
She's your
just
mom.
clicked for you, though. Is that my mom will, in fact, be at the wedding. It would be weird if she wasn't. But that just sort of clicked for Mick.
Yeah.
And I hope that's the last we talk of any Mick clicking.
Yeah.
Because that's a pretty bad phrase.
Yeah.
I'm going to meet her. We're going to click.
Yeah. As we get into
That's
Learn
not
Funny is
true.
Best.
Hit it off.
Brought to you by Pyramid Roofing. Nice weather's finally here. It's been gorgeous past couple of days, but if you've probably started getting some of those outside chores, when you're outside, take a peek up at that roof, see how fall and winter treated that roof and your gutters. Call Pyramid Roofing for free estimate, 816-966-1101 or pyramidroofingkc.com. They did my roof 20 years ago. I haven't thought about it since.
And that means it's
Not a
time.
problem you want.
That's,
learn funny is best.
You've learned good things. Nothing about that's funny. It's all the best. But hopefully we'll find some LFBs for ourselves here. So let's do it. Learned, funniest, and best. A little bit earlier than usual because we'll hear from Andy Reid around 1:30 or so here this afternoon, and as the Chiefs wrap up rookie minicamp. I think because I'm Jason now, I go first, right?
That's how it works.
Sure.
I think that's how it works. And here's what I learned over the weekend. I learned that Devin Booker in his last 2 games has gone for 83 points, 21 assists, 12 rebounds, 4 steals, while shooting 84% on 2s and 67% on 3s. One of the legitimate, most outrageous postseason runs in NBA history. Just learned that Devin Booker's God walking amongst mere mortals. That's all. That's all I learned this weekend.
It's pretty good.
There may be more Devin Booker stats remaining in my LFB. Mick, what'd you learn?
Jokic just has the better lines, right? But he's just not winning games.
Yeah, I'm like Eric Bieniemy. The numbers are one thing. I'm really about the alphabets, about those W's and L's. And, in a 2-2 series, I have a lot to brag about.
Well, technically, I learned that not only do NBA players flop, but so do their owners.
I think that you should apologize because Matt Ishbia survived a ruthless attack.
Yeah, it was a large man.
A large man.
Elbow from a large
who should
man.
not only be suspended for an indefinite period of time,
The rest of the series.
at minimum the rest of the next year. I think maybe Nikola Jokic should be arrested. That's all I'm saying.
Well, I mean, it is a D move, right? We see it all the time when a dribbler travels and he's just holding the ball. He's kind of looking at the ref. And then all of a sudden, the opposing player decides, we need to get that ball right now. Right now. The time, even though it's stopped, it's running. We got to get it. Just to be it. It's similar to walking over a player, right?
Yes.
When there's 360 degrees of angles I can take to leave this situation.
Yes.
But I take the one walking right over his midsection, right?
That's right.
It's similar to that, just deciding I need to grab this from the fan, but then the fan, the owner,
Paid
right?
for the
and I
balls.
didn't know
Yeah.
Did he play college basketball?
Yes, he
Somebody
was
said
at
he played at Michigan State.
Yes.
He
was
like
a
Mateen
walk-on.
Cleaves
He was a
era,
walk-on
or-
under
Would have been Izzo or
under Izzo still.
Judd.
So it was Izzo. He was an Izzo era walk-on. He's got a real rivalry with Dan Gilbert for reasons I don't completely remember, but they're both like mortgage magnates or whatever. So yeah, he learned what it means to be the walk-on white guy at the end of the bench that needs to be able to take a charge.
There we go.
Flop,
And he-
absolutely not. Take a charge, sure did.
He did, absolutely, yeah.
gotta do.
I also learned about these Sentinel people, the Sentinelese. They're from North Sentinel Island in the Andaman Islands in the Indian Ocean. They are an uncontacted tribe living on this 4-mile by 4-mile island. People will go there and they will literally kill everybody that comes to the island.
Okay.
They shoot bows and arrows. They are like almost like kind of cavemen. They are
Completely uncontacted.
uncontacted. Well, when they are contacted, they'll kill you.
Kill you, right?
And so they have nobody knows how many people. There could be like 40 there. There could be 400. They sent somebody to do a census. They died. Okay. They just get killed.
Yeah.
Recently, a missionary, I think he was based in Kansas City a few years ago, went there to reach out to him, spread Christianity. Shocker, they weren't taking, killed him.
Yeah. Okay.
I've learned
Kind of a
about
pattern.
these people, and so they and they live there. And so, like, the Indian government claims that island, but they've never heard of anything called India. Nobody knows what language they speak there.
Yeah.
And so they've even taken members of tribes from other islands nearby that might speak a similar language, and also live very basic, archaic lives, and sent them. And what happened? Guess what happened?
They killed?
They killed them too.
Yeah.
So the Indian government's like, we're just, you know what? The island's protected by the Navy. Like, just nobody go here. Just
stop going
Stop
here.
messing with these people.
They seem fine with themselves.
They have no idea what like basketball is, right? They have no idea what.
What's the point?
I mean, like a nice tiled bathroom floor is. They have no idea like a chimney is, or television, or anything.
Like how violently Nikola Jokic attacked Matt Ishbia.
They have no idea about Michigan State. Nothing.
It looks like a Renaissance painting. They just went away from
North Sentinel Island, and all the pictures of the people there are grainy from a long way away, because nobody's. If you go there, you take a picture, they're gonna kill you.
Anybody like sent a drone over? That feels like the next thing. Someone's like, "What if we send a drone over?" And then they'll shoot the drone down, presumably. But probably get a little closer with the drone, and then not get shot by arrows.
Yeah. So there you go. Don't go there.
Is there a? Well, I'm gonna find out if there's a theme through LFB for you that continues. I'm not gonna try to jump that. You just said that a lot of your weekend was gonna show up in these stories. So I wondered, did you guys?
The next one could have covered all three.
Okay, all right, that's fine. Drake, what'd you learn?
I learned that an alternator for my son's car is $912.
God dang it! That it is. Well, the alternator is probably $200.
Yeah, the process of getting a new alternator in your son's car was $912.
Yes, it was. Yeah.
I had to do a new starter recently. I think that was in the 800 range.
Oh God, why?
Cars are the worst. I hate cars. I've so much money just spent on cars and car insurance and gas that goes in cars. I hate cars because if four people driving, you know how it goes. 4 people in our household that drive. There's insurance and stuff.
I hate car stuff. I think that and I know there are people listening right now who this is not applied to. So I know there are categories of people that I'm not in. You've got like car people who have worked on a car forever. They love that car. They take care of this car. They know about car things. Maybe they don't have a ton of money, but they're happy to put money into their car as like a hobby and care thing and all of that. And that's not me. And then you've got people who are so rich that you can just buy a car, and then whenever the starter breaks, you just throw it out. You know, you just drive it into a river or whatever and let it sink to the bottom, and then you buy another very expensive car. And I'm not in either of those groups, so I just see cars in the way you guys just talked about them, which is typically just the red number that occasionally hovers over it. I might be admitting to a crime here. I'm not sure, but I'm going to admit to it now. I've decided. My car's horn hasn't worked in 3 months. Just at some point I realized I locked it and it didn't go honk honk. It just was
You've
just a
tried to
lights
push
thing.
it?
I've tried pushing it. I have tried honk with I've hit the panic button.
I feel like
all
that's
of
not
that.
probably an expensive fix.
Probably not.
That's probably a YouTube video. And
Yes,
and a spark
it is.
plug. A spark plugs maybe, right? Like, yeah, there's a chance that I could fix this myself.
I don't think the spark plugs are connected to the car.
To the horn.
I thought that I Googled it once when it happened.
The cylinders, I think, that's what you need to replace.
I think if I just
Maybe
take my
an axle.
engine out, I think if I just take my axe that I bought to chop wood and I just pick an axle, maybe I just carve off a mirror. I don't know. I Googled it once and then I've just let it go. And there have been a few times when I thought, I really wish I had a horn right now because somebody in front of me needs to know they've caused me strife. But my car's horn doesn't work, and I haven't wanted to get it fixed because as soon as I need to actually get that done, who knows what else is hiding under there.
I don't think a cop's gonna know your horn's not working. I think you're safe there.
I think I'm probably safe, but I have now admitted it in the public. And I just don't want to have it dealt with. I don't care. I just want my car's been largely great, and that's fine, and I just want it to keep being great.
It's like the old bumper sticker, horn broken, watch for finger.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's good. And that feels like that way that I'm joking about, potentially breaking a Do you have to have a horn legally? Probably not.
Yes, you do.
And then you get the bumper to bumper powertrain warranty, right? You know what that covers? Nothing.
It covers
Nothing that ever breaks.
Not
It
even your bumpers.
Covers all the stuff that doesn't break, and all the stuff that breaks on a regular basis is not covered. I'm like, oh, sorry, this doesn't cover that alternator or the starter or your horn. It covers the stuff that you're just going to be fine.
Well, I didn't mean to depress everybody.
No, it's depressing.
I hate thinking about cars.
It's expensive. It's not fun. My car hasn't been horny for months. Like, there are a lot of issues here that I think are fair.
We got there. That's where it was our destination. Finally got there.
Who's funniest goes next? Mick, what was your funniest?
So my funniest for the weekend was my buddies turned 50 on Saturday. So 50 years. That's
Here's
where
the
I'm at in
stories
life.
come from. This is where the stories are coming
You're in
from,
wedding
though, right?
season. I'm in 50th birthday season, right?
I love it.
And so they did like some sort of white elephant fun gag gift. So I was already at Walmart for something. And I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna go to the like the pharmacy area and get them like some for Hims or some Blue Chew or something like that, over the counter, ED, medicine or whatever, just as a funny little gift. So I get over there and I stumble upon something I didn't know. Walmart has an entire basically porn section. They've got a corner of the store that's Priscilla's or Cirilla's or whatever we're calling it now. There's toys, right? And there's creams, and there's lubes, and then there's other toys, and there's lots of stuff, and it's all inside this glass cabinet that's locked. And so I'm like, well, I've got to get something out of here.
Okay. Man, the way you are wired so far is the first thing I have thought about now twice is, well, I'm the one that's going to have to check out with all of this stuff. So, okay.
Yeah, no, we get there.
Okay, sorry.
And
all right. You're just, right now you are
and
so excited.
So I see, I'm like, this is going to be perfect. It's a box of something called Kush Tush. And it's for, it's on the box, it says for backyard play.
I'm just watching Drake's hand to see when it reaches up to the dump button. So far, I haven't
And
seen
so I'm
it
like,
go
well,
yet.
I'm going to get him the Kush Tush. It's perfect. I mean, that screams this guy. No.
You were so excited asking the cashier to unlock it.
No, and so I'm looking around. I'm like, and I'm jiggling the door like maybe somebody left it open or whatever, the last person to get their toy. And as Walmart's got this.
Yeah, I didn't know this.
Yeah, me neither. And so as I learned. And then the only person in the section looks like she's a worker. She looks like she's 19. I'm like, well, there's no chance I'm asking her.
No.
And I start walking around. I can't find anybody else. So after 5 more minutes, I'm like, all right, hey, how do I get something out of this cabinet? Oh, I can come open it for you. And so immediately I'm like, well, it's for a gag gift. It's for a buddy. It's for a buddy. And she's laughing, whatever. So I get the Kush Tush, and you can't just grab it. They've got this clear box that they slide it into and lock it, and you transport. Apparently, these are high-end things that get stolen a lot.
$98 apparently.
Yeah, so I was like, so where can I go and just secretly pay for this? She's like, you can go to the pharmacy, you can go to customer service. I'm like, okay, I'll go to customer service. So I've got this box under my arm, and I get all the way to customer service, and there's this lady, she sees it, she's like, woo! She starts clapping her hands. I'm like, it is a gift. It is a gift. For a buddy, for a birthday party. It's a gag gift. She's like, that's what somebody who's getting it for themselves would say. I'm like, I know, I realize that. And so I'm checking out. I'm just blushing and everything. And there's another young kid behind the counter who's seeing this whole transaction take place with the Kush Tush. And he's like, hey, are you Abe's dad? I'm like, oh, man, that's my son's name.
Oh,
yeah,
no!
I'm like, yeah. Why? He's like, oh, yeah, I go to school with him. I'm like, oh, great. I'm like, this is just a gag gift for it's a birthday party. It's a gag gift. It's not even real, right? And it's going to get thrown away. It's never going to get used. And then he comes with, he's like, yeah, your wife was also my teacher in 4th grade. I'm like, oh, okay. Yeah, this is not for her, I promise. It's a gag gift. Man. And so I get it, and I just run. I run out of the store as fast as I can. I get in the car, and I'm pulling away, and my wife texts me. She's like, oh, I forgot. Can you get a cheese tray from Walmart? I'm like, no, I'm not going back in there. Get your own damn cheese tray, you maniac. Get it yourself. Stupid.
This is all on security footage somewhere.
Everywhere. It is, man. And so, but it was worth it. The Kush Tush was a big hit. But, I mean, just I don't think it's been used, but just seeing it in the box in that part of the party. So there you go. That's the funniest for me for the weekend.
I was half ready for are you Mick Schaefer? But I think Are You Abe's Dad is actually worse.
Oh yeah, and then
way better.
your wife was my teacher in 4th grade.
Yeah. Wow, that's really challenging. My funniest is what the it's not going to stand
Drake's
up.
turn.
Is it Drake? I thought you went last on funniest. And
well, there's only 3 now.
That's
instead
true.
of 4,
Okay,
so
Drake, what's your fun?
I went first.
I didn't want to follow that anyway.
It's just all clockwise.
Drake, what did you find at Walmart?
I enjoyed the Mahomes Mattress Mac conversation from the Kentucky Derby when Mattress Mac approached Patrick and told him he had lost millions of dollars on him over the past couple of years, and you can kind of hear it here.
Good seeing you. I appreciate it. Sorry about that one. Got to be with me next time.
Yeah.
That's the
I just loved it.
message.
Oh, yeah. Got to be with me next time.
I mean, hey, Mac, I got a cool idea for you. Stop betting against Patrick Mahomes.
I haven't heard a story ever where Mattress Mac wins a bet.
Did he win on the Astros?
He won a couple, yeah.
And it's all about offsetting whatever specials he was running or whatever. But it feels like it's mostly about him losing now, which I think is funnier if you think about it.
Yeah.
Probably didn't have a whole bunch of money on Mage, I imagine.
Well, he's he also houses a lot of people during hurricanes and stuff, so I kind of appreciate him for that.
No, you know what, Drake? I'm against it. Oh yeah, man. Oh, okay, fine. Yeah, obviously.
I hate humanitarian efforts.
Humanitarian efforts are great. He also seems like he's got some irresponsible gaming habits. People are complicated.
Is it irresponsible, or he's just losing that money back out into society and it can be distributed?
I think casinos notoriously love to put their money back into the community, right? That's where that money goes. The funniest for me that doesn't stand up to either of those, but it's what the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim, to me at least, put on the screen for Jonah Heim, the Texas Ranger, the catcher when he was at bat in L.A. They put a fun fact next to his headshot. They wrote, "Has a daughter, however, missed an opportunity and did not name her Anna." Because then she would have been Anaheim.
Good one. That's really good.
I like it when...
that's clean fun right there.
Good, clean fun from some MLB scoreboard runners. I like that from them. Anaheim, missed opportunity. Drake, is it time for your best?
Yeah. So Manchester United is advertising an open job position with the organization. And they say that you not only have to have a college degree, but they want some postgraduate education as well. And they are hiring someone to polish their trophies. They say that they have so many, they need someone to care for the trophies in kind of their Hall of Fame type area. And so if you have a postgraduate degree and you love Man U and you want to go polish trophies for a living, you could do that.
What does it pay, I wonder?
I don't know.
That's fascinating. That's got to be a highly sought after
Polish
job.
trophy for a price? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Every day.
I think you're in the right section of Walmart to work on
polishing
trophies.
Mm-hmm.
That's great.
Just not the front of them.
Backyard trophy play.
Do you want to go? Do you want to do your best? Do you want to close
how
the
do
best?
how
I
are
always
you
sit
so-
in that chair, and sometimes Jason forgets to ask me for my best anyway, and so that I know my best goes last when I'm there. So you want me to do best now, then you can be our best
I don't know
closer.
that you understand about just going clockwise here, but yeah, I'll go next here. Yeah,
you want
that's
to
how
go
it works.
next or last? Because me in that chair, I do best.
But there's 4 people.
I know,
Get
but
that
you're,
right, so
but
it's
you're in that
different.
chair. If you were in this chair over here, where you usually sit, it would change everything.
Yeah, but clockwise. Anyway, I will go best here if that's what you want.
I would rather do my best and let you have the last best.
Okay, that's the
I'd like
order.
to
That's the
I'd
order
like
right
to
now.
Save the best for last.
Okay, go ahead.
Let's take a break. My best is a combo best. I don't know if you guys saw what Devin Booker did over the weekend, but Devin Booker became the first player in NBA history to average 35 points per game on 70+% true shooting percentage over a 9-game span in the playoffs. That's bleeping crazy, and also combination of Landale, the big man who's played when the Suns haven't wanted to go to DeAndre Ayton, and Landry Shamet, who played basketball at Wichita State.
And Park Hill.
Well, the two of them have specifically combined to become Shock Jock. Shock Jock season. Jock Landale, Landry Shamet, the Shocker. Shock Jock season. Late in that game last night, Landry Shamet was
19, right?
Was
19
on
points?
Fire. He might have hit 19 threes in the fourth quarter. Dude was electric, and I've never said anything bad about Landry Shamet when he's been in a Suns uniform. Do not search my Twitter looking for it. You won't find anything. Please don't look. Mick, why don't you close us out? What was your best? Or Drake,
My best,
you want to add something?
I got to perform ear surgery on Blair Kirchhoff last night after a Sunday sound-off.
What?
Yeah, so his earpiece, the little node on the end, I guess he's buried it into his ear, and when he pulled it out, the node stuck in there. The little rubbery piece on the end. And he was we got down there, and he was borrowing tweezers from a photographer. We're like, what are you doing? He's like, I've got my part of the earpiece in there. I'm like, no way. So we look in there. I got my light out. I'm like, oh, God, it is. It's buried in there, though. So I got the tweezers out, and it was just like operation, right?
Yeah.
Peeled his low back. I didn't want to, like, puncture an eardrum or anything like that. And it took Jason's got the video of it. It took me 45 seconds to a minute to fully pull the thing all the way. I got it halfway out, and then I went forward again. I pushed it back in some more. It's tough in the ears. There's a lot of canals, could go any direction, really. And
if only you had some sort of lubricant.
I gave it away the night before. Cush ear stuff.
Well, Mick, thank you for sharing your stories.
And so it was great. I saved his life.
I don't know if that's true either, but if this was the moment in the show where I began questioning your stories, I would really regret it, I think, at every single turn along the way. That's Learn Funniest Best. That's Mick Schaefer of KSHB 41. Joshua Briscoe and the Drake here with you. We'll hear from Andy Reid to wrap up rookie minicamp next in The Zone. Mick Schaefer in the Zone is brought to you by Atomic Cowboy Sports Saloon, home of the 2-story biscuit sandwiches from Denver Biscuit Company all morning, New York-style hand-tossed pizza all afternoon and evening from Fat Soli's, and 20 beers on tap all the time. Experience it today at 42nd and Pennsylvania in Westport.
It's Mother's Day time at Salty Iguana Mexican Restaurant, and that means it's time to celebrate Mom. Bring your mom in to eat on Mother's Day, and our gift to her will be a tip. service at all.
It may feel like the NFL draft just barely happened a few weeks ago. It did. It's just barely in the rear view. But the Kansas City Chiefs are already back to work. In fact, they have been all weekend long. And today, putting a cap on their rookie minicamp process. 3-day minicamp for the rookies, which is obviously the draft picks, the undrafted free agents, extra rookie camp, minicamp invitees. And today, we finally heard from Andy Reid. So we'll hear from the Chiefs head coach here now, opening up here with Andy Reid's opening comments after getting a few good days of working with the rookies and taking some questions about the rookie class.
All right. As far as injuries go, really it's just Felix. So he had a thumb that he had surgery on, and he did a little bit more today than he did yesterday, and we'll just keep gradually bringing him back in. It was good to get these guys in here, the rookies, and give them a chance. Good tryout camp for a lot of these guys, and I think we'll probably keep a couple of them, so it was beneficial. Anyways, with that, time's yours.
In a short time like this with a lot of these guys, they know this is maybe not going to be NFL players. What's it take for them to come in here and work hard and give you guys kind of what you need?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, especially with the heat we had, right? So the last couple of days have been a blazer out there, and they work their way through it. I think it's great for them. We take a picture afterwards, and I told them, when you get chubby like me and your grandkids ask you, did you ever play in the NFL? You go, yeah, here's the picture, here's the proof. So that, it's, a lot of them won't have that opportunity, but they had this chance here.
Just to clarify on Felix, the thumb surgery is before the draft, right?
Yeah, yeah. It was actually before the workout that we had, right before that workout that we had here. Yeah. So he wasn't able to do that either.
Any idea what timeline for him? Like
Yeah,
OTAs?
Yeah, we're kind of gradually bringing him back. I mean, today he had his helmet on and did a little bit more. You'd hope maybe phase 3, but you don't know. We'll just see how he feels.
What have you seen from Rashee Rice so far?
Yeah, strong, kind of things we saw on tape. He's got to make sure he gets his running in. This is that position we run him like crazy, so he's got to get that part of him taken care of. But you could see the strength and his route running, his ability to work in space. He's got good hands.
What's the biggest obstacle for new players when they go from college to pros? Is it the playbook? Is it the terminology? Is it the distractions? In your opinion, what's the biggest job?
Yeah, it's probably all the above. I mean, from getting in a huddle on the offensive side, to these long play calls, to the amount of work that you're going to end up getting, shorter lines. So, and just, the magnitude of it. They're going against real good people. They're going against the best player they play together every day. They're doing it. So they've got to up their game a bunch.
Coach, Jerry Neely was back in this camp. What have you seen in him as far as progress year to year?
Yeah, he can kind of do a lot of things for you. So from return game to wide receiver to running back, he worked running back in this camp. But he did wide receiver the latter part of last year. So it was real smart, quick. He's not the biggest guy, but he knows how to play the game.
Is he sticking with the running backs, do you think, now moving forward?
I think right here he will, yeah, but we'll move him around too. We have that flexibility to do it.
Few things there from Andy Reid, and the main stuff just being the injury update on Felix Anudike-Uzomah. He didn't have a helmet on over the weekend, and then today he is working with his helmet on, hoping to have him back by phase 3. Andy Reid says he can't know for sure, working him back gradually, but had thumb surgery back pre-draft workout. So yes, fully back in the process. The Chiefs aren't surprised by any of this. I'm certain. But not getting work done yet. So everybody else's thumb's feeling good. I think we're all right.
Yeah, when he's not, when you haven't drafted him yet, yeah, absolutely go work out for us. Now that he's yours, like, we're going to take this slow.
Let's go ahead and work you back a little bit at a time. Rashee Rice got to get his running in is kind of funny just because Andy Reid always wants everybody to get their running in, and that's going to be a part of the growing process. But one of the guys that we talked about at the very beginning of the show today that I wanted to hear Andy Reid talk about is Donovan Smith, the tackle the Chiefs brought in from Tampa Bay to add a veteran to the group. We don't really know where he's going to play. And Andy Reid was asked about Donovan Smith today and what he likes about the Chiefs' new tackle.
Yeah, so he's been a left tackle at a high level. If you look at last year, he was hurt, and then the year before that, he was one of the top-graded left tackles in the league. So, and we've had a chance to play against him a couple times. I know, seen him firsthand there. Good football player.
He can be with the ones on the left side when you get started?
He'll be with the left side, yes.
With the ones?
Yeah, probably with the ones, yeah.
Does that mean Jawan is going to be on the right, or we all still evaluate that?
Yes, we move him over to the right. Yeah. Somebody's phone is going wacky here, man.
Deneric Prince, the running back. You got that at Tulsa. What are your early impressions of him?
Of who?
The Deneric Prince, 34, the running back you have.
Yeah, I like him. I think you're going to grab him right here in about a second. He's coming in, so he's a good-looking kid. Picked things up well. His size, I mean, that's the thing that jumps out at you. Size, strength, and he caught the ball well, so we knew he could run it. We'll see how he does once we get to that point, but we've seen that on tape. So.
There's his list of rookie game. We won't hit you for a bit. Isaiah Pacheco, it seems like he had off-season surgery. What's his status?
He did. He's making progress. We'll just see how he does with it. But I can't even give you a timeline on it. But he is doing well. He goes through all the steps out there with phase 2 and that. So, just you can't get hit on that thing.
Andy, when you go through all your evaluations and process, especially the guys that you have draft picks for, when you see them out there, even though it's a short sample size, is there sometimes you're like, oh man, that's a lot better than what I expected, or like that's about what you thought when you saw the tape, because you never see them until you see them.
Yeah. Then you take in consideration it's in shorts, so they look pretty good, but you can't hit anybody, so you're missing that part of the game. But they're. Yeah, I mean, you get that. You got a bird's eye on them, right? Everybody's watching them and seeing how they do, and normally it's pretty good in this camp.
Last one, Adam.
And Justin Ross, I thought he might be eligible for this camp. Is that not right?
Yeah, he wasn't. No.
Not eligible.
Well, Jordan, Coach, we get to see some of the stuff that happens there on the field, but you guys are watching everything, right? The meeting rooms and how they go there. How important is that part of this, what you can see how they go about doing it the Chiefs way when you're evaluating who's going to kind of hang around?
Yeah, I mean, you look at everything. I mean, these guys are under a microscope, so you really can't play at this level if you can't think. And to think, you better study. Very few guys can just look at it and have it. I mean, you got to go over it and over it and over it. So we're aware of all that. We got to keep note of that.
How was Kelsey's podcast?
I'll let you guys tell me. That's not my shtick.
There you go, Andy Reid talking to the media, and as somebody mentioned in there, it'll probably be a little while before we hear from him again. Hadn't mentioned on the show today yet. Should have mentioned it. Totally blanked on it because I saw it yesterday afternoon, I think, that Isaiah Pacheco reportedly had surgery on his hand and torn labrum. I think they said the labrum, I can't remember when the labrum tear was supposedly suffered, but it was earlier on than the broken hand, which he apparently suffered in the AFC Championship game, I believe, and then played with through the Super Bowl. Labrum, broken hand, Isaiah Pacheco. The narrative continues, the legend grows, and rightfully so, I think. Because I think you need your hands and labrum to play football.
Absolutely. Yeah, he probably tore it doing one of those funky dances he does in the end zone after scoring. More like Elaine from Seinfeld. He's got to work on those over the offseason.
Somebody posted a video of him dancing in warm-ups before the Super Bowl and said, oh, this is Isaiah Pacheco with a torn labrum and broken hand. And it was just him doing his, at this point now, sort of signature dances. Both a broken hand and torn labrum in the Super Bowl. He was with a wrist injury. Torn labrum the majority of his rookie season. Ridiculous. So he did that through an incredible rookie year with torn labrum and then a Super Bowl with a broken hand. And the labrum never healed in that process either. crazy. Anyway, the biggest news out of that clip there from Andy Reid is him confirming, at least for now, that Donovan Smith will start at left tackle with the ones and keeping Jawaan Taylor at right tackle when training camp begins. So,
you like that? I
don't mind it. I think it's fascinating because I wonder how long this has been the plan.
Yeah.
I wonder how long they've thought we'll draft the tackle. We're going to bring in Donovan Smith. If they have had a Donovan, come here, sort of agreement for the last 2 months, I kind of like it. If this is a new adjustment to them not getting a left tackle in the draft, I like it a little bit less. But I don't mind it. I don't care at all that Jawaan Taylor's making, quote, left tackle money. That doesn't bother me. Just pay your guys what they're worth, and he'll make you more flexible than Orlando Brown. He'll be an upgrade over Orlando Brown. But if they would have brought Jawaan Taylor and Andrew Wiley back, everybody would have been okay with it. It's probably pretty similar.
No, everybody would have been okay with it. But I think a large part it was you can't predict the draft or the NFL offseason. These guys are so good, but I still think Brett Veach doesn't exactly know everything that's coming his way. I think they pounced on a guy like Jawaan Taylor to where, like, okay, this is a guy that can be a great right tackle, and in a pinch, if things don't come through in free agency or the draft at left tackle, he can be our guy for a year or so. But then they landed on Donovan Smith, and I'm sure they had some sort of scenario in the draft that they would take a left tackle, whether it was Anton Harrison, somebody else at 31 that could have been there, and that would have been their guy. And I'm sure Wanya Morris was part of the plan as well. And so I love it. I think it's worked out great. I'm all for just, hey, these are two veteran guys who have been pretty good at their positions at right tackle and left tackle. Let's play them at their positions.
I definitely prefer that to Andy Reid saying, nope, Jawan's our left tackle. We're going to try to get Donovan on the right side. That would make me way more nervous than what Andy Reid actually said. I'm with you on that part. I don't mind the signing at all. And I buy the idea that there is just improvement for him to be had by not being completely injured every step of this season. I think there's growth, even as an older player. I think he'll be okay. But it's really interesting because none of us were talking about Donovan Smith after they signed Jawaan Taylor.
And so refresh me on what's Taylor's deal. How much money is he making over how many years?
It's 4 for $80, so it's $20 million per year. I think the first 60 is guaranteed. It's not quite 20.
And then
20
what's Smith getting?
Close.
It's a 1 year.
1 year up to $9 million. Nate Taylor's story had it as about 4 base salary, I think, and then so about $5 million of incentives.
So like as much as the right tackle could be making 5 times more than the left tackle.
Yes.
So is this transformation of Mahomes turning left-handed
fully
we
know he
for
can
every
throw
pass?
left-handed.
For
just
every
keeping
pass.
his options open, I think, just play your best players at their best positions. That strategy is good with me. Get as many linemen in as you can. That's good with me. I just didn't expect it, so it's been kind of disorienting. Not as disorienting as Mick's Learn Funniest Best stories, but still pretty disorienting. We're going to take a quick timeout. We'll come back and wrap up the show next. Mick Schaefer's brought to you by Atomic Cowboy Sports Saloon. As seen on Food Network, Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives, and Man vs. Food, try it today.